Chapter 1275. At the training field of the city lord's residence in Baili City, Xiaoping was practicing his fist technique. Every punch was as heavy as a mountain and carried with it a suffocating aura. It was as if the entire city was trembling, as if an ancient beast had awakened. Many humans descended nearby to watch. Xiaoping is really terrifying. His fist technique is too powerful. I feel like I'm going to be crushed just by watching from the side. Even in the holy city, there aren't many fist technique grandmasters like him. He's almost in a trance. As expected, Xiaoping has a great chance of stepping into the imperial realm. Many generals were full of praise. They were intoxicated by the scene of Xiaoping practicing his fist technique and benefited a lot from it. It was as if every punch contained the power of heaven and earth and resonated with it. This monster is indeed not using his full strength. City Lord Baili Hu looked at Xiaoping with burning eyes. After his previous battle with Xiaoping, he could feel that he seemed to have touched the bottleneck of the Overlord realm. He estimated that he would be able to break through to the Overlord realm in another 10 years. But for some reason, he had a strange feeling that even if he really did break through to the Imperial realm, he might not be a match for this man. This world is very beneficial for condensing magic powers. Xiaoping's eyes lit up. He could feel that the speed of condensing magic powers on the Dragon God continent was much faster than in the outside world, be it in terms of comprehension of magic powers or condensation. In just a day, he had already stabilized his cultivation of the late stage of the divine realm, and even improved rapidly. Many of his magic powers had the power to communicate with heaven and earth, and seemed to have transformed into the embryonic form of the heaven and earth formation. Perhaps this world had once been inhabited by a true dragon, and the aura of a true dragon was everywhere, causing the yuan qi of this continent to change, and making it easier for people to comprehend martial arts and magic powers. Therefore, the human race in this place had many divine realm cultivators and experts. Dong, 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 dong. At this moment, the urgent sound of a bell rang throughout the entire city. It rang 18 times in a row, and resounded throughout the entire city, letting everyone in the city know. Hearing the sound of the bell, the faces of the generals in the training field changed drastically. Damn it, 18 rings of the bell. An army of the dragon human race is invading. Hurry, 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 go to the city walls and defend against the enemy. For a moment, the generals in the training field didn't dare to waste any time. They picked up their weapons and armors and left quickly, flying toward the city wall of the 100-mile city. Xiaoping furrowed his brows and followed the generals. At this moment, all the warriors in the 100-mile city who heard the bell, regardless of age or gender, gathered on the city wall. On the Dragon God continent, there were no weaklings among the human race. Basically, every human was a soldier. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. There was a vast open space above the city gate. City Lord Baili Hu and his 9 generals, including Baili Han, were there. There were also many king-level warriors. There were 20 to 30 of them in total. At this moment, all of them appeared in this place with solemn expressions. The dragon human race is attacking. They've brought 1,000,000 soldiers and 100 dragon human kings. If we don't get reinforcements in 3 days, we can only fight to the death, if we want to live. Baili Hu said. What? The expressions of the generals of the Baili clan changed drastically when they heard this. Baili Hu's words contained too much information, and it was too frightening. The enemy was powerful, but they didn't get reinforcements. Weren't they doomed? They had thought too much. It seemed that the dragon human race had come prepared when they attacked the 100-mile city. Not only did they delay the reinforcements from the holy city, but they had also brought a large army to bear. They were clearly trying to kill them. They had probably planned this for a long time. Look, they're here. Baili Han pointed to the front. The crowd followed his finger and looked over. Xiaoping also narrowed his eyes. Rumble, there seemed to be hundreds of dragons riding on clouds at the end of the sky. A large number of dragon people riding on wild beasts were charging toward the 100-mile city in a frenzy. There were more than 1,000,000 dragon human warriors densely packed together. They were like ants, and there was a dense mass of human heads everywhere. It was a terrifying and suffocating sight. There were more than 10,000 of them, and they seemed endless. Furthermore, there were more than 1,000,000 of them, and every single one of them was an elite. This kind of combat power was enough to destroy the 100-mile city more than 10 times over. This immediately made the Bailey clan warriors feel a tinge of despair. Dong! It was at this moment that the dragon human race army suddenly stopped. They moved in an orderly manner, and immediately stopped 5 kilometers away from Bailey City, facing off against the soldiers of the Bailey clan from afar. The human race, the king of the dragon people, Wester, rode out on a barbaric dragon tiger. He walked with a majestic gait, and his body emitted an extremely powerful aura. He was the commander of this dragon human race army. Wester, Bai Lihu and the others immediately recognized this old opponent. This Wester was a veteran king who had been famous for a long time, and his strength was even more terrifying than Bai Lihu's. This time, Wester had personally brought many kings of the dragon people with him. It was clear that he was determined to win. Wester, why have you led your army to invade my 100-mile city? You and the 100-mile city should not have interfered with each other, Bai Lihu asked loudly. As a cultivator at the pinnacle of the divine realm, his voice was like thunder, and it could be heard clearly by everyone within a radius of 100 kilometers. Nonsense! You humans do not have the right to interfere with each other's affairs. Wester laughed coldly. Don't tell me you've forgotten that a few days ago, a king of the human race killed 3 of the dragon human race's kings. Not even their corpses were left. This is a deep-seated hatred. This time, I've led the dragon human race army here to slaughter everyone in the city and spare no one. What? Many of the Bailey clan generals felt their hearts tighten. Although they knew about this, they did not expect Wester and the others to really attack the 100-mile city and destroy them because of this. Of course, if you want to avoid this disaster, it's not impossible. Wester's tone changed. What do you want? Bai Lihu asked. Hand over the murderers who killed the 3 kings of the dragon human race, Wester shouted. Chop off the heads of these murderers and hang them on the city gates so that the people will despise them. Also, execute the murderers and their families. The men will die, and the women will be slaves of the dragon human race for generations to come. If you can do this, the dragon human race army will immediately retreat. He gave his own conditions. As long as these conditions were met, he would lead the army to retreat and not invade the 100-mile city. What do you think? This should be beneficial to all of you. As long as you hand over the murderer and kill all the members of the murderer's family, you will be able to avoid a disaster and avoid the destruction of your entire clan. Wester looked arrogant as he stared at Bai Lihu and the others. However, he was laughing coldly in his heart because these conditions were all fake. Even if Bai Lihu really killed the murderers, they would definitely not retreat. After all, he had used the dragon human order and gathered hundreds of kings of the dragon people not for such a small matter. Destroying the 100-mile city and uprooting this human stronghold was a must. Chapter 1276. Scram! Hearing this, the city lord Bai Lihu shouted without hesitation. If you want to kill my human race's king, you will have to step over my corpse and kill all my clansmen. Don't talk nonsense here. If you have the guts, then destroy my 100-mile city. Many generals sneered and looked mockingly at Wester and the other draconian kings. These draconians thought that they could sow discord with just a few words and make them hand over the person who killed the draconian king. What a joke! On the Dragon God continent, the reason why the human race was able to survive under the oppression of the dragon human race and not be wiped out was because of the morality and unity of the human race. They would rather die than betray their clansmen. Moreover, these Dragonians were despicable, shameless, vicious, and cunning. None of their words were trustworthy. Even if they really handed over the so-called murderer, these Dragonians would never retreat. Therefore, why would they care about the words of these Dragonians? It was nothing more than a battle to the death. Stubborn fool! Seeing that his attempt to sow discord had no effect, Wester flew into a rage out of humiliation. Since you humans want to die, then I will grant your wish. Dragonfolk army, march to the 100-mile city. Massacre the city. His roar was like the roar of a dragon god from the 9 heavens, covering the entire city. Kill, kill, kill. The dragonmen roared in anger. The million-strong army moved together and attacked the 100-mile city. For Guardians, Heavenly Dipper formation rise. Seeing that the dragon human race was attacking, Bailihu immediately activated the huge formation of the 100-kilometer city. This was the source of confidence for the human race to fight against the dragon human race. The formation of the city could cover an entire city. Under the cover of such a huge formation, as long as the dragon human army did not destroy the formation, they would not be able to enter the city and would not be able to slaughter the old, weak, women and children of the human race. Moreover, once they entered the range of the 4 Heavenly Dipper formation, the strength of the dragon human race would decrease by 30%, while the strength of the human soldiers would increase by 20%. This gap was enough to bridge the gap in strength between the human race and the dragon human race, or even surpass it. Therefore, the humans could easily kill the dragon human soldiers under the protection of the city's formation. Rumble, in the blink of an eye, the great formation of the 100-kilometer city rose up. Immediately, 4 huge pillars appeared in the north, south, east, and west directions. They were like 4 elephants that pierced through the clouds. The 4 pillars released a massive amount of energy, forming a massive energy barrier that instantly enveloped the entire 100-kilometer city. It even extended 3 to 4 kilometers outside the city. Instantly, countless human soldiers felt that their strength had been increased, and the dragon human soldiers, who had entered the range of the formation, felt their strength weaken. Of course, the suppression effect of this formation wasn't that great for kings. It only had a significant effect on those below the king level. That was why kings were able to move freely within the formation. The ordinary people of the 100-mile city also sensed this situation. They also knew that the dragon human army was attacking. The formation has been activated. Those dragon human race bastards are already here. Don't worry. We humans are invincible under the formation. That's right. With City Lord Bailihu here, the dragon human race will never be able to invade. Let's join the battle. We must drive out the dragon human army and kill them all. We can't let them invade our home. Many human soldiers were filled with fighting spirit, and their eyes burned with the flames of battle. This wasn't the first time they had fought against the dragon human army. Although they were afraid, worried, and terrified, their home was here, and they would never retreat. Moreover, their home was here, so where could they retreat to? The kings of the dragon human race were immediately aware of this situation. The human race's great formation has been activated. It's just the 4 elephants Heavenly Dipper formation. It's not like it's the great formation of the holy city of the human race. It's useless against us kings. Even so, it's still very effective against the dragon human soldiers below the king level. Yes, we dragon human soldiers are at a disadvantage under such a great formation. It's because of this tortoise shell-like formation that we can't eradicate these humans. Don't worry, this 4 elephants Heavenly Dipper formation looks powerful. But as long as we destroy one of the pillars and break the balance of the formation will naturally collapse on its own. However, the human race should have thought of this as well. They've sent their kings to the nodes of the formation to protect it. What's there to be afraid of? We'll send 100 kings to attack one of the pillars and destroy it. No matter how the humans resist, it'll be useless. In the face of absolute power, all tricks are laughable. Yes, we'll attack the pillar in the east, destroy the 4 elephants Heavenly Dipper formation, and slaughter the humans. The kings of the dragon human race were filled with murderous intent as they charged toward the pillar in the east of 100-kilometer city. They didn't hide their intentions at all, and they paid no attention to the other dragon human soldiers. This was because the focus of the war was the battle between the kings. If the kings won, the battle would naturally be won, and if they lost, the other soldiers wouldn't be able to turn the tide. The movements of the kings of the dragon human race were immediately discovered by the generals of 100-kilometer city. They're here. Their target is the pillar in the east. How arrogant. They've sent all their main forces and have no intention of splitting up. I think they want to concentrate their forces and destroy our 4 elephants Heavenly Dipper formation. Do they think they have the advantage in numbers? I have to admit that they have more troops than us. Even with the 4 elephants' heavenly dipper formation, we might not be able to hold them off. We have to hold them off even if we can't. Otherwise, our families will all die. Yes, even if we die, we'll drag a few of them down with us. The generals of 100-kilometer city were filled with murderous intent. Even though the dragon human race was powerful, they had no intention of giving up. This was because the people of 100-kilometer city were behind them, and they were their families. They couldn't back down even half a step. Soon, they also gathered in the east of 100-kilometer city. The kings of both sides clearly planned to have a decisive battle here. Whoosh! At this moment, a figure darted out and took the lead. He ignored the other generals and directly attacked the kings of the dragon human race. The generals of the Bailey clan were all shocked. It's Xia. What's going on? Has he gone mad? He actually attacked alone. Quick, call him back. Even if 100-kilometer city is destroyed and the entire Bailey clan is annihilated, we can't let Xia die. He's the hope of the human race. Bai Lihu and the others turned pale with fright. They didn't expect Xia Ping to charge out alone at this moment. He was going to face hundreds of kings of the dragon human race alone. Wasn't he courting death? In their eyes, Xia Ping was an expert who had a chance of becoming an emperor, so he definitely couldn't die here. Chapter 1277. An expert from the human race has come alone. Haha, is he here to die? I didn't think there would be such a fool in the human race. Let's just kill him. I don't care if he's stupid or not. Right, let's kill one first to intimidate the others. The Dragonoid kings saw Xia Ping and burst into laughter. They looked at him with disdain, but they did not stop moving. They spread out naturally and surrounded him. They did not care if this human brat was stupid or not. They just wanted to kill him first. Damn it, let's go. We can't let Xia die. Hurry up. Bai Lihu and the others were anxious and wanted to help. Finally, I have a chance to show off. Let's get rid of these Dragonoid kings first to repay the Bailey clan. Compared to the anxiety of Bai Lihu and the others, Xia Ping was very calm. He walked casually and faced the Dragonoid kings with his bare fists. His divine sense spread out, covering 1,000 miles. Everything was within the range of his mind. Saint-level skill, star guiding art. Rumble, in an instant, Xia Ping took a step forward. The entire sky seemed to darken. Stars appeared one after another. There were 9 of them, and they rotated with the power of the stars. With his body as the center, a terrifying gravity was produced. It was as if the entire ground was being crushed. What? The Dragonoid kings were shocked. They immediately felt as if they were carrying a mountain on their backs. Even moving a step was an extremely difficult thing to do. Moreover, this gravity covered 1,000 miles. No matter where they ran, they could not escape. The weaker draconian kings were immediately pressed to the ground by the terrifying gravity. Their bones cracked under the pressure, and even breathing became extremely difficult. It was not just the Dragonoid kings. Even the human kings were attacked indiscriminately. They felt the terrifying gravity and were unable to move. However, the human kings were not targeted by Xia Ping, so they did not feel very uncomfortable. Too strong. Bai Lihu and the others were all shocked. This was the first time they had seen Xia Ping show his true strength, but the moment he made a move they were shocked. He had merely taken a step forward, yet the 100 draconian kings could not move at all. What kind of might was this? What kind of divine ability was this? Damn it, I can't. This gravity is too terrifying. It's like carrying a mountain on my back. What kind of martial Dao divine power is this? Why is it so powerful and so vast? How come I've never seen this human king before? Where did he come from? The other Dragonoid kings were also shocked. As soon as Xia Ping made his move, he displayed a power that they could not match. They could hardly breathe under the pressure. They had never thought that a human could be so powerful. If you want revenge, come and find me. Xia Ping looked indifferently at the group of Dragonfolk kings. Because those 3 Dragonfolk kings were killed by me alone, and the group of Dragonfolk elites were also turned into meat pies by me with a single slap. What? Hearing this, many of the Draconian kings were shocked, especially Wester. His eyes were burning with murderous intent, and he wanted nothing more than to kill this damned human in front of him. You're not convinced? Don't worry, none of you can escape today. All of you will die, Xiaoping said indifferently, his tone very indifferent, as if he was saying something natural. He continued to take a step forward, and the gravity suddenly doubled. Bang! Immediately, a few of the weaker dragonoid kings could not withstand this force, and their organs were crushed on the spot. With a puff, they spat out a mouthful of blood. Dragon eyes! Immediately, the dragonoid kings roared angrily, their faces ferocious. Immediately, their bodies underwent earth-shattering changes, and their bodies doubled in size. Countless dragon scales appeared on their skin, and their heads turned into dragon heads. The two dragon horns became very thick, and a long dragon tail grew out. Their bodies emitted a powerful aura. This was the unique ability of the dragonfolk, Dragon Eyes. Once the state of Dragon Eyes was achieved, the speed, power, and defense of the dragonfolk would be twice as powerful as before. It was equivalent to being in a berserk state. However, this state could not be maintained for too long. If it was not a critical moment, they would not use Dragon Eyes. After all, once the state of Dragon Eyes ended, the dragonfolk would be weakened for a period of time. During this period, the dragonfolk would be at the mercy of others. Therefore, once they used Dragon Eyes, they had to kill their enemies, or else they would be killed. He actually used Dragon Eyes. Bai Lihu and the others narrowed their eyes. Usually, this group of dragonfolk would only use Dragon Eyes in a critical moment of life and death. But now, these dragonfolk had already used their final trump card. One could imagine that Xiaoping had only taken 2 steps, and he had forced the group of dragonfolk into a life and death crisis. If they did not use their Dragon Eyes state, they would be crushed to death and turned into meat pies. Kill. In an instant, 2 or 3 dragonoid kings in Dragon Eyes state attacked. They formed a triangular formation, forming the dragonfolk's 3 talents battle formation. In this battle formation, the strength of the 3 dragonoid kings could be maximized, and they could fuse the magical power of both sides. This power was not as simple as 1 + 1. They attacked from the north, south, east, and west, sealing off all of Xiaoping's escape routes. They reached out with their dragon claws, which seemed to tear the space apart, wanting to kill Xiaoping with one swipe. Great Yin-Yang tablet smashing palm. Xiaoping did not even look at them. The magical power in the space of the Purple Kingdom surged, and his blood boiled like lava. He slapped out with his palm. Immediately, a huge black and white hand appeared in the void. It was completely formed by Yin and Yang Qi, and it seemed to have turned into a millstone that looked like a Taiji diagram, crushing down from the sky. What? The expressions of the 3 dragonoid kings changed drastically. They felt that the huge black and white hand seemed to have sealed off the entire space, and at the same time, it produced a terrifying devouring power. The power of Yin and Yang merged into everything, like a millstone that could destroy everything. In the face of such power, they had nowhere to hide. Boom! In the next second, the palm slapped down from the sky, slapping hard on the bodies of the 3 dragonoid kings. Yin and Yang Qi instantly covered them, tightly trapping them. Ah ah ah! The 3 of them let out shrill screams, like pigs being slaughtered. Their extremely tough dragonoid bodies were as fragile as tofu under the power of Yin and Yang. Their bones were cracking, destroyed by the power of Yin and Yang. With a crack, smoke and dust rose, and a 5-finger-deep pit was immediately formed in the ground. The ground cracked, and the cracks extended for several kilometers. The 3 dragonoid kings were also smashed into meat pies, dying on the spot. Chapter 1278. Bastard! Wester and the other dragonoid kings were dumbfounded. There were very few dragonoid kings to begin with, and the death of 3 had enraged the dragon great emperor. He wanted to wipe out a human city as a show of strength. But before he could kill a single human, 3 dragonoid kings had already been slapped to death. Furthermore, they hadn't even managed to harm a single hair of their opponent. How humiliating was this? Go kill him. If 3 can't kill him, then come at me with 10. I don't believe that he can take on 100 alone and kill this arrogant human. Many of the dragonoid kings were enraged. They instantly transformed into dragons, and broke free of Xiaoping's gravity field. Their powerful physical strength burst forth as they charged at Xiaoping. Dragon raises its head. Immediately 5 dragonoid kings charged at him. They split into 5 different directions as the dragon power in their bodies spread out and fused together, forming a small matrix. Vaguely, this huge dragon power formed a dragon's head. It was as if a real dragon was raising its head, emitting terrifying might. The ground was torn apart by this power, and rumbling sounds could be heard. Dragon swings its tail. Another 5 dragonoid kings charged at him. They worked together, and their dragon power vibrated and fused together. It seemed to have transformed into a dragon's tail that swept toward Xiaoping. This dragon tail was extremely terrifying. It was like a whip that could sweep down the stars, and also like a whip that could strike down gods. It contained unparalleled sharpness that could even break a river. It could be said that this was truly a whip that could cut off the flow. No matter how confident Xiaoping was, he couldn't ignore the attacks of the 10 dragonoid kings. Hell's Demon Suppression Spear. In an instant, he took out a weapon that came from Hell. The Hell's Demon Suppression Spear. The moment this spear appeared, with it as the center, a huge amount of hellish chi immediately filled the air, as if a demon from Hell had emerged from the gates of Hell. At this moment, the entire world seemed to have turned into darkness. Even the radiance of the sun in the sky was covered. Vaguely, demonic chi surged, as if there were countless demons howling from Hell. What a powerful demonic chi! Many of the generals of the Bailey clan were shocked. They could feel endless darkness from this demonic chi, as if they would fall into the boundless hell if they came into contact with it. This was the first time they had felt such an evil aura. No, it's not as simple as devil chi. It seems to contain the aura of holiness, antiquity, suppression, chaos, and so on. It's even more ancient and unfathomable than devil chi. It's the power of hell. Bai Lihu's pupils contracted. If it was just demonic energy, then its characteristics would be madness, corrosion, and chaos. However, the aura of hell was different. It was darker, pure, and boundless, a darkness that could devour any light. It was not just Bai Lihu. Even some of the more powerful draconian kings could sense this. This dark aura contained boundless nobility and supremacy. Xiaoping gripped the hell's spear and imbued a huge amount of magic power into it. The entire spear trembled slightly, as though the feeling of holding the spear was different from before. When he infused the mystic power into it, the hell spear's body seemed to be covered in numerous hellish runes. It was blood-red in color, as if it was formed from blood. There seemed to be black ants wriggling on it, emanating a powerful force. Vaguely, it seemed like a demon god deep within the hell's spear was about to awaken. Does this hell's spear have a weapon spirit? Xiaoping guessed. He felt that such a powerful treasure could not possibly not have a weapon spirit. It was just in a state of hibernation for some reason. Now, as he grew stronger, the weapon spirit of the hell's spear seemed to be slowly awakening as well, increasing the hell's spear's power. Kill! Xiaoping did not think too much. He gripped the hell's spear tightly and attacked the draconian kings. Hellish martial art, hell's suppressing demon spear. In an instant, a huge black spear shadow appeared in the air. There were many hellish runes on it, as though it contained the power of demons from hell. Dong! The spear collided with the dragon's head and exploded. The dragon's head seemed to be unable to withstand the terrifying power of hell, and let out a shrill roar. The demons from hell were even biting the dragon's head and devouring the dragon's power. How is this possible? The 5 draconian kings were shocked. They had thought that the power of their dragon raising its head would be enough to suppress everything. They did not expect the opponent's power to be more terrifying than all of them combined. When the power surged, it was as though the endless yellow springs of hell were drowning them, wave after wave, stacking on top of each other and seeping into their lungs. It was impossible to resist. In the next second, they coughed up blood on the spot. The dragon's head conjured by magical power cracked and fell into pieces. Their entire bodies were sent flying. Their lungs were severely injured, and they smashed into the ground, creating a huge crater. In the blink of an eye, the other 5 draconian kings charged over. Their huge dragon whips shone with golden light like whips. They descended from the sky with terrifying penetrative power tearing through the void. The golden dragon whips came crashing down, weighing more than 10,000 tons. It was like a mountain that weighed billions of tons was descending. Moreover, it was extremely fast, giving Xiaoping almost no time to react. Kill! Xiaoping's eyes were calm like a pool of water. He reacted quickly and gripped the hell's spear tightly, sweeping it at the other 5 draconian kings. As though he was sweeping through a mountain, vast magical power surged out of his body. Dong! The spear and the dragon whips collided, and immediately, there was a shocking sound of collision. Like a comet hitting the earth, there were intense sparks and clanging sounds. The power of hell and the power of dragons collided. It was as though ancient powers had crossed the river of time to fight. In the depths of the void, there seemed to be a battle between a demon from hell and a dragon god. The aftermath of the collision of the two powers instantly spread to both sides. But Xiaoping was indifferent. This power was easily blocked by his northern dark protective technique. But the bodies of the 5 draconian kings were not so strong. They could not withstand such a vast power at all. It was as though they had been hit by a demon. Their bodies produced thousands of tremors and destructive attacks. And they were all sent flying into the distance. Bang, bang, bang. All of them flew for more than 10 kilometers in the air. In the end, they all smashed into mountains, causing more than 10 mountains to collapse and the rocks to turn into powder. And their bodies had also suffered extremely serious injuries. The Hell's Spear, with a stab and a smash, had seriously injured the 10 draconian kings. Some were dead, some were maimed, be it the draconian kings or the human kings. All of them stared with their eyes wide open in disbelief. Chapter 1279. Hiss hiss. Many of the generals of the Bailey clan were shocked and gasped. They had wanted to step forward to help, but they did not expect the 10 kings of the Dragon Men to be defeated on the spot in an instant. Even if they wanted to help, they did not have the time to do so. Moreover, the battle was so intense that they could not find any opportunity to join in. If they joined in rashly, they would ruin Xiaoping's rhythm. Oh my god, is he still a king? Could Xia have already advanced to the emperor level? How could the 10 dragonborn kings not be his match? A general of the Bailey clan was shocked. He suspected that Xiaoping had already stepped into the emperor level. Otherwise, how could he have such powerful combat strength and easily defeat the 10 dragonborn kings? No, he is not at the emperor level. Once one steps into the emperor level, he will be able to control the power of heaven and earth. His body will form a formation, and his magic power will grow endlessly. However, Xia does not have this ability. He is purely relying on his own strength, and is unable to control the power of heaven and earth. Bailey who said in a low voice. At first, he also thought that Xiaoping had stepped into the emperor level, but after careful observation, he found that Xiaoping was still at the king level. You must be joking. When did the combat strength of a king level become so terrifying? Is he still human? Monsters are nothing more than this. Many generals of the Bailey clan could not help but gulp. They were also human experts who had stepped into the king level, but they did not know that a king-level expert could have such powerful combat strength. He could beat up a whole group of people. After watching this battle, they all suspected that Xiaoping could challenge an emperor-level expert. Unlike the many experts of the human race who were shocked, the kings of the dragon human race were enraged. 10 kings of the dragon human race had been easily injured by a human race expert. Some were dead, some were crippled, and this was a great humiliation. It had always been the experts of the dragon human race who outnumbered their opponents. When had they ever been outnumbered by the human race? Now the dragon human race seemed to be very weak. If they did not attack together, it would not be because the enemy was weak. If the kings of Dragon God City knew about this, they would definitely become a laughingstock and be regarded as inferior kings. Otherwise, how could they be beaten to such an extent by a mere king of the human race? Kill him. Immediately, the dozen or so draconian kings looked at each other and made up their minds. No matter what, they would not let this human, who had killed so many draconian kings, leave alive. This was not only for their reputation, but also for the future of the dragon human race. He had such terrifying combat power even though he had yet to advance to the martial emperor realm. If this human really stepped into the martial emperor realm, it would be the end of the dragon human race. No one knew better than the dragon human race what it felt like to be a weak race. Profound meaning, dragon horn. In an instant, the 20 dragonoid kings joined forces. They naturally spread out and stood in different positions, forming a huge battle formation. Dragon power emanated from each other. Rumble, immediately, this power gathered together and actually condensed into a dragon's horn in mid-air. It was incomparably huge and contained a terrifying sharpness and penetrative power. It was as if a true dragon had awoken at this moment. Its horn seeped out from the void. This kind of power could penetrate through everything. No one could resist it. What? He actually used the dragon horn. Isn't this one of the secret techniques of the dragon human race? The pupils of Bailihu and the others shrank. They knew very well how terrifying this secret technique was. They remembered that there was once a human city that had a powerful formation set up. But the dragon human race used the secret technique, the dragon horn, to gather the power of 100 dragonoid kings. With just one attack, the entire human city was pierced through by this horn. All the humans living in the city were strangled by the dragon power, and even the city lord was pierced on the spot. He could not resist it. This was a secret technique of war that was specially used to pierce through cities, but it was used against a human king. This kind of behavior was too exaggerated. Swish, 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 swish. The 20 dragonoid kings charged over. Each of them seemed to have turned into a dragon's horn as they charged forward madly, tearing through the void and surrounding Yi Futian from all directions. This was a secret technique of the noble sacrifice. It gave up all defense and focused all its power on offense, just to kill the enemy. One could imagine how terrifying this attack was. Xiaoping's pupil shrank. He could also feel how terrifying this attack was. It had already reached the level of the treasure refinement realm, and could kill all cultivators of the divine realm. This was a killing technique that was created purely to kill the enemy. The dragon's horn contained the power of a vortex and penetrative power. This was the essence of power. Although these dragonoid kings did not understand the mystery behind this technique, it did not stop them from using it. This attack was more terrifying than ordinary people could imagine. It's indeed a good move, but it's useless if it can't hit the enemy. Xiaoping was unmoved, because he did not intend to take this attack head-on. He wanted to kill his opponent from afar. Spiritual secret technique, Lion's Vajra seal. In an instant, Xiaoping formed a seal with both hands, and a divine talisman immediately emerged from his body. It was golden, and there seemed to be a lion from the divine mountain residing in the depths of the talisman. Immediately, this divine lion stepped out from the depths of the talisman. It was covered in golden fur, and many ancient characters appeared on it. It gave off a noble, great, unfathomable, and indescribably noble aura. The moment it appeared, it was like a king had come out of the mountains, and it had the power to make everyone submit to it. Roar! The divine lion stepped on the void with its 4 hooves and roared at the sky. It let out an angry roar, and the sound waves came one after another. These sound waves even transformed into unique talismans and musical notes that resonated with the sound power of heaven and earth. They possessed an extremely terrifying vibrational power that was enough to destroy everything. Oh no! The 20 dragonoid kings' expressions changed drastically. They felt an unprecedented sense of danger. Layer after layer of spiritual waves in the void flooded over like a tidal wave. This was not a physical attack, but an attack on the spiritual level that came from the soul. Under normal circumstances, they might have been able to block this attack with the powerful spiritual power of the dragonoid race. However, it was different now. In order to use the dragon's horn, they had abandoned all defenses on their bodies. Their magic power, divine sense, dragon power, and other powers gathered at one point to attack their enemy. Therefore, they were unable to resist this attack that came from the soul level. The speed of the soul attack was far too fast, and it was much faster than ordinary attacks. In the blink of an eye, the spiritual waves that resembled the lion's roar engulfed their souls. Bam, bam, bam. The dragonoid kings seemed to have been immobilized, and they were hit by this power. Their souls were instantly destroyed, and their eyes, which had been brimming with battle intent, turned into ashes. At the same time, because of the destruction of their soul power, they were unable to control the chaotic magic power in their bodies, and they went berserk. Boom! Chapter 1280. No. Wester and the other dragon-human kings were so shocked that their eyes almost popped out of their sockets, and they almost vomited blood. 20 dragon-human kings, a total of 20 dragon-human kings. Who knew how much time and resources the dragon-human race had to spend to nurture them? But now, he had been killed in an instant, and not even his corpse was left. This was a loss that the dragon-human race could not bear. Bastard human, you and I are absolutely irreconcilable. I won't rest until one of us dies. A draconian king roared at the sky, filled with grief and indignation. Tears of blood flowed from his eyes. Damn it, the dragon horn doesn't work on this human. This bastard knows spiritual attacks, which happens to be the bane of the dragon horn secret technique. I was killed before I even got close to this human. How am I supposed to fight? Damn it, how can this human know secret spirit technique? Didn't they say that there are very few people who know this kind of secret spirit technique? Many draconian kings gritted their teeth and clenched their fists. They were now extremely regretful. If they had known that Xia Ping knew secret spirit techniques, they would definitely not have used such a secret technique. In the end, not only did they not manage to kill the person, but they also lost 20 of their companions. Up until now, they had lost 30% of their dragonoid kings. Even when they had attacked human cities in the past, they had never lost so many kings. What should we do? Do we have no choice but to watch this bastard do whatever he wants? A dragonman king gnashed his teeth and glared at Xia Ping with extreme hatred. However, ordinary attacks were useless against this human king. Even a secret technique like the dragon horn had been easily broken, causing them to suffer heavy losses. There's no other way. We can only use the wrath of the dragon god and burn this human demon to death. Wester's eyes flashed with a cold light as he voiced his opinion. The eyes of all the dragonoid kings lit up when they heard this. The so-called dragon god's wrath was that their bodies contained a trace of dragon fire. Although this kind of dragon fire was far inferior to a real dragon god, it still contained a trace of the true dragon fire's destructive characteristics. Once it erupted, it was enough to incinerate an entire city. It would not stop until everything was burnt to a crisp. If they worked together and released the dragon fire in their bodies at the same time, they could immediately condense a huge ball of dragon fire and burn their enemies to death in an instant. This was one of the dragon human race's trump cards. Until now, they didn't even know how many enemies they had killed by using this move in a last-minute counterattack. More often than not, the enemy would be unknowingly struck by a trace of dragon fire, and as a result, they would be burned alive and turned into ashes. This kind of flame ignored the difference in strength and was purely created for destruction. Even an emperor-level master felt a trace of fear towards the dragon fire. This was the wrath of the dragon god. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. They looked at each other. There was no need for them to waste any words, and they immediately took action. 79 draconian kings appeared, and they were distributed in different positions. These draconian kings circulated their magic power and activated their bloodline power. Immediately, a scarlet flame emerged from their bodies and appeared on their fingertips. Although this scarlet flame looked very weak, as if it could be extinguished at any time, it was still very powerful. However, it gave off a heart-palpitating aura, as if there was a true dragon residing within it, possessing terrifying destructive power. Not good. Those draconian kings are planning to use the dragon god's fury. On the distant city wall, Bai Lihan's sharp eyes immediately saw through the move that the draconian kings were planning to use. For him, who had dealt with the dragon human race for so many years, he was well aware of the trump cards that the draconian kings had. And the dragon god's fury was a terrifying move that made people tremble with fear. Not long ago, countless human experts had failed miserably when they had a huge advantage, and were killed by the dragon god's fury. They died very sullenly. Bastard, you can't beat Xia Ping. So you're using such a sinister move. Immediately tell Xiaoping not to take this move, or he will definitely be burned alive. Bai Lihu's expression changed. He was burning with anxiety as he gave the order. He was worried that Xiaoping would not know the severity of the situation and take the dragon fire head-on. No one knew better than him how terrifying the dragon god's fury of the dragon human race was. His father was once a peak king, but he was also counterattacked by a draconian king at the last minute and used the dragon fire. As a result, his entire body was burned to ashes, and no matter what method he used, he could not extinguish the flames. This was not a flame of the mortal world. It was truly inherited from the dragon god, and it was the power of a god. Dragon fire? Xiaoping's eyes lit up when he felt the flames coming from the draconian king. He could feel the golden crow of hell's bloodline in his body stirring, and it was filled with greed, desire, and desire to devour. One must know that the golden crow of hell's bloodline rarely desired anything. It was like a high and mighty god, and it had no interest in anything in the mortal world. But now, it was interested in the dragon fire, and it had a desire to devour it. It was obvious that the dragon fire would be extremely beneficial to the bloodline in his body. Without a doubt, the dragon fire was like the fire of drought demon, the fire of life, the essence of the sun, and other flames. It was one of the rare flames of the world, and it possessed terrifying power. However, this was only to other life forms. To Xiaoping, who had the golden crow of hell's bloodline, these rare flames were food for him to devour. He was the master of all flames. Die, human! Receive the dragon god's fury. You unclean existence, go to hell, go to hell! In an instant, dozens of draconian kings were finally ready. They refined the dragon fire in their bodies and gathered it together to form a fist-sized crimson fireball. The crimson fireball rumbled as it spun, and there seemed to be a true dragon in the depths of the fireball. The flames burned all around it, and it emitted extremely high heat, distorting light and devouring everything. Swish! Under the control of the draconian king, the crimson fireball was extremely fast, and it smashed toward Xiaoping's body like an accurate missile. Oh no, it's over, Xiaoping is finished. Bai Lihu and the others wanted to warn Xiaoping not to take the dragon god's fury head-on, and that he had to dodge it. But the draconian king was simply too fast, and they could not do anything even if they wanted to. What made them even more alarmed was that Xiaoping was foolishly standing where he was, and he did not move at all, as if he intended to take the attack head-on. This made them feel even more hopeless, and they thought that Xiaoping did not know how terrifying these flames were. Haha, foolish human. To think that he wants to take the dragon god's fury head-on. What a foolish fellow. Even our draconian race would not dare to take it head-on, for fear of being burned to death. This human is finally finished. He'll turn into ashes the moment he comes into contact with the dragon fire. We've finally killed this monster-like human and eliminated a great enemy for our draconian race. Die, all lowly humans who oppose our draconian race must die. Chapter 1281. Swish! The crimson fireball arrived beside Xiaoping in an instant, and Xiaoping could feel the excitement in his bloodline, as if it was cheering and jumping for joy. Burn him to death, burn this heretic to death. The group of draconian kings shouted excitedly. They wanted to see the scene of Xiaoping being burned to death by the dragon god's fury. He would be bathed in flames, and every cell in his body would be incinerated. No matter how he struggled, no matter how he rolled on the ground, he could not extinguish the flames. He would be burned alive and turned into ashes. It's over, he's dead. A peerless genius of the human race, a future emperor-level expert, has died just like that. I, Bai Lihu, am a sinner. Bai Lihu looked up to the sky and howled in grief and indignation. The other generals of the Bailey clan were also regretting and felt extremely pained. Losing a future emperor-level expert was even more painful than losing a human city. This was a loss that the human race could not bear. Pow! When the crimson fireball arrived beside Xiaoping, he finally could not hold back anymore. He grabbed the fireball and stuffed it into his mouth, swallowing it in one gulp. He even slurped it a few times, as if it was some delicious ice cream. Bai Lihu and the others were still howling in grief, but when they saw Xiaoping's actions, they could not help but blink and rub their eyes, as if they could not believe what they were seeing. Because in their eyes, not only was Xiaoping not burned to death by the dragon fire, but he had also grabbed him with one hand and stuffed him into his mouth, chewing on him. They could not understand this situation at all. Their minds were in a state of short-circuiting and blank. Oh my God, what's going on? Why didn't the dragon fire burn this bastard to death? And he actually ate it. This bastard ate our dragon fire. One of the draconian kings was on the verge of breaking down and yelling in disbelief. It was not only this draconian king, but the other draconian kings were also in the same state. They were all dumbfounded. To be honest, the draconian race had existed on the dragon god continent for tens of thousands of years, and had fought against countless races. The power of the dragon fire was simply omnipotent, and it could turn everything into nothingness. However, they had never seen anyone eat their dragon fire, as if it were ice cream. It was too exaggerated. Since when did the dragon fire become delicious food for others? Are you kidding me? That's dragon fire, a flame that can burn everything. How could it be eaten alive by this guy? The group of dragonoid kings was going crazy. No words could describe their current feelings. They could only say that they had seen a ghost. Eating dragon fire as food, was he still human? It must be an illusion. This is definitely an illusion. Did that guy activate some kind of mental secret technique before he died, causing us to be unable to extricate ourselves from the illusion? A draconian king cried out, feeling that he might have fallen for the enemy's illusions, which was why he could see such a scene that defied common sense. It was too inconceivable. Wester did not know what to say. He had never seen anything like this before. How comfortable. At this moment, Xiaoping swallowed the fist-sized dragon fire. He immediately felt the flames flowing down his throat, and then quickly entering his stomach. Then, the golden crow of hell's stomach quickly digested and absorbed this ball of flame. The enormous flame energy instantly fused into his limbs and bones, entering the depths of his blood vessels. Rumble, suddenly, a strange flame appeared in the depths of his dantian. This was the dragon fire. This flame looked like a small dragon, soaring through the clouds and lying lazily in the depths of his dantian. Beneath this calm exterior, there was an extraordinary destructive power hidden within. What a strong power of the strange flame. Xiaoping's eyes lit up. If the essence of the sun was said to be a flame of extreme yang, having the power to burn all purine substances, the fire of life contained a huge amount of life energy, able to promote the growth of all things. The spiritual fire of the earth was a strange flame from the depths of volcanoes. It had the power to melt all things into lava. Its specialty was to burn and not extinguish. The fire of drought was to infect, spread drought, and evaporate water from all things. Each of these strange flames had its own specialty, and each had its own ability. The specialty of the dragon fire was destruction. It was a flame that was born purely for destruction. It could completely shatter matter into atoms. This was an extremely destructive flame that could even destroy souls. Whoosh! When the dragon fire entered the depths of his body, Xiaoping felt that the golden crow of hell bloodline in the depths of his body was further stimulated. The cells of the golden crow of hell were unsealed, turning into a large amount of energy that entered his limbs and bones. 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. In total, he had unsealed 5,000 golden crow of hell cells. The blood in his body surged like lava. Many golden crow characters seemed to appear, and a trace of noble golden flame appeared in the depths of his blood. Obviously, after obtaining the dragon fire, the golden crow of hell bloodline in his body had been further enhanced. Not bad flame. The taste is not bad. Do you have more? Xiaoping blinked and burped. He looked at the group of dragonoid kings with longing. Damn, this bastard really ate it. Hearing this, Wester and the other dragonoid kings were going crazy. This bastard had eaten the dragon fire that they had worked so hard to activate, and now he was still not satisfied. He wanted to do it again. This special flame could only be activated once every few years, and it could only be recovered after several years. How could he do it once? What did he think it was? Therefore, The dragon fire was their trump card, and they would not use it easily. But many dragonoid kings were on the verge of breaking down. What was the structure of this guy's body? Why couldn't even the dragon fire kill this bastard? They felt as if they had really met the natural enemy and nemesis of the dragonoid race. Seems like there's no more. Then you guys are useless. Xiaoping looked at the expressions of the dragonoid kings and knew that they could no longer use these flames. He immediately lost interest in them. Since they could no longer use the dragon fire, they were useless. Boom! He immediately attacked and punched at the group of dragonoid kings. Theurgy, Sun God Fist. A terrifying theurgy that combined 4 kinds of extraordinary flames immediately burst out. Hundreds of fist marks appeared in the air, all condensed from extraordinary flames, and containing the destructive power of extraordinary flames. These fist marks fell from the sky like meteorites, covering all the dragonoid kings. They were like countless missiles descending, bombarding the area with saturation attacks. There was nowhere to hide. Rumble, hundreds of flaming fist prints exploded like nuclear bombs, immediately erupting with earth-shattering explosions, causing the sky to collapse and the earth to crack. A several-kilometer-deep pit was immediately blasted out. Hundreds of tons of soil splashed out, and a large earthquake cracked. Chapter 1282. However, the scariest part of the Sun God Fist was not the power of the fist, but the power of the mystical fire. As the fist exploded, the flames also broke apart and spread in all directions, covering a radius of more than 10 kilometers in an instant, turning the area into a sea of fire. Damn it, what kind of flames are these? Why can't I break free? Dragon fire, could this human have also mastered dragon fire? Help, help, hurry up and save me. Many dragonoid kings cried out. The terrifying mystical fire covered their bodies and immediately began to burn fiercely. It would not stop until they were burned to ashes. At this time, they truly felt the horror of being attacked by dragon fire. Their bodies were surrounded by flames, and every cell was burning. Even their souls were being burned by the flames, causing continuous damage. However, no matter how they struggled, they were burned by the flames. After a few breaths, 30 to 40 dragonoid kings were burned to ashes, leaving only a pile of dust on the ground. When the wind blew, they disappeared from this world. Even when these dragonoid kings died, the flames did not stop burning, turning the area into a sea of fire. Even the rocks were burned into magma, flowing everywhere, and the temperature rose rapidly. Oh my god, could Xia also have mastered the power of dragon fire? No, this is a little different from dragon fire, but it is equally scary. There is nothing it cannot burn. How tragic. Once these dragonoid kings were surrounded by the flames, they were burned to death. They could not escape even if they wanted to. Giving them a taste of their own medicine, these dragonoid kings also ended up like this. Bai Lihu and the others were extremely excited. Not only did Xiaoping not die after encountering dragon fire, but he had also used the terrifying flames to kill more than half of the dragonoid kings. His battle record was impressive, and the situation had been reversed. If this battle record were to be spread, it would definitely shock the world, and his name would be known throughout the ages. They could all imagine how big of a commotion it would cause if today's events were to be leaked. Human, I will kill you. Wester roared, and his whole body attacked like lightning. He held a long spear in his hand and gave off an aura of death. In a few breaths, he was close to Xiaoping. Wester wants to commit suicide. Bai Lihu and the others were stunned. Just now, 10 dragonoid kings were no match for Xiaoping even if they joined forces. Even if Wester was stronger, what could he do to Xiaoping? Xiaoping's actions were clearly suicidal. Die! At that moment, Wester looked as if his plan had succeeded. He waved his hand, and a bead appeared in his hand. It seemed to be filled with the aura of space. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Immediately, a dozen or so figures emerged from the void. They were all dragonoid kings, and they were ready for battle, as if they had long been prepared. Space-type magic treasure? Xiaoping raised his eyebrows. He didn't expect this group of Dragonians to have spatial treasures on them. He guessed that these dragonoid kings were hiding in a spatial treasure just now. When Wester got close, Wester would release them to surround and kill him. Once 20 draconian kings got close, the enemy would definitely die. He would not be able to escape. This was a sure kill move. Oh no! In the distance, the generals of the Bailey clan were shocked. They had also seen the sudden appearance of a dozen or so dragonoid kings. How could they not know that Xiaoping had fallen into the enemy's trap and was in a dead end? Wester gritted his teeth, and a murderous look appeared in his eyes. The original plan was to break into the Bailey city and destroy the city's formation. At the crucial moment, he would release 20 dragonoid kings from his body and kill the generals of the Bailey city instantly. However, at this time, if they didn't kill this demon human, they would be completely finished. Even if they couldn't destroy the Bailey city, they had to kill this terrifying human. Once he stepped into the Emperor realm, the future of the Dragonians would be very dangerous. Kill. The 20 dragonoid kings who suddenly appeared had ferocious looks on their faces. Their bodies were filled with terrifying magical power, and it was obvious that they had been accumulating power for a long time to carry out this sure kill attack. Rumble. Dragon power gathered in midair and transformed into many giant golden dragons. They roared wildly and pounced toward Xiaoping, wanting to tear him apart. This power was so strong that it was comparable to an attack from a beginner of the treasure refining realm. Even a city would be destroyed in an instant. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Xiaoping didn't move, but the golden slime on his body immediately sensed danger. Slime! The golden slime called out, and it immediately split into countless blades. Under the sunlight, these blades emitted a terrifying cold light and formed a mountain of swords. The blades stabbed out, and clanging sounds could be heard. It was as if many swordsmen were attacking, and they pierced through the sky. The sharpness of the blades seemed to be able to tear the earth apart. Dong! With just one attack, these countless blades pierced through the bodies of these dragonoid kings. What? These dragonoid kings widened their eyes, and large amounts of blood seeped from the corners of their mouths. Before they could even get within a few meters of Xiaoping, their bodies were pierced by the extended blades, and they turned into beehives. Many bloody holes appeared on their bodies. The dragonoid scales that they were so proud of could not withstand the sharpness of these blades. Their bodies were as fragile as tofu, and they were easily pierced through, causing large amounts of blood to flow out. Immediately, they felt waves of intense pain, and their consciousness quickly fell into darkness. No, no, no! Seeing this, Wester couldn't help but scream. He was crazy, and his eyes were wide open. His surprise ambush was to kill Xiaoping, but now he couldn't even get close to him. The 20 dragonoid kings were killed on the spot, and their bodies were pierced with dozens of bloody holes. It was as if thousands of blades had pierced their bodies. Where did these blades come from? Don't tell me it's another powerful magic treasure? Bai Lihu and the others' eyes were popping out. They felt that Xiaoping's combat power was not only abnormal, but he also had countless treasures on him. He was armed to the teeth. No matter how much these dragonoid kings struggled, they couldn't hurt Xiaoping at all. Die! Xiaoping didn't care how shocked Wester was. His body flashed, and he moved forward like lightning. In an instant, he was in front of Wester, and he hit him with a backhand palm. Oh no! Wester's expression changed. He felt a great danger, and he tried to escape quickly, but it was too late. Xiaoping slapped Wester's head with the back of his hand. The force was like the weight of Mount Tai, or the impact of a comet. Boom! It was just a palm, but it was a powerful force. It smashed Wester's head into a pile of meat paste, and it exploded like a watermelon. Chapter 1283. It's over. Wester has also been killed. Over 100 dragonoid kings came this time, but 70 to 80 of them have died. How are we supposed to fight them? Damn it. What kind of monster is this human? Is he an emperor-level expert? Even if he hasn't reached the emperor level, he has the battle strength of an emperor-level expert. We are no match for this human. Retreat immediately. Otherwise we will all be wiped out. The expressions of the remaining dragonoid kings changed drastically. They knew that it was impossible to win the battle at this stage. If they continued to stay here, they would only end up being wiped out. They had not expected such a thing to happen. This time, They had mobilized so many people to destroy a city of the human race. They wanted to kill the chicken to scare the monkey and deter the human race from acting rashly. However, not only had their plan failed, but they had also lost so many dragonoid kings. It could be said that this plan had failed completely. Whoosh! Whoosh! Although the dragonoid kings were very unwilling, they quickly gave the order to retreat. Bai Lihan's eyes were sharp. He immediately saw the movements of the dragonoid army. The dragonoid army is retreating. Hehe! How can they not retreat after Xia killed so many dragonoid kings? Even if they continue to stay here, they will still be killed. 70 to 80 dragonoid kings have died. How many years will it take for the dragonoid race to produce so many dragonoid kings? This time we made the dragonoid race lose a mouthful of teeth. I will remember it well. Haha, this is the consequence of invading the human race's territory. The Bailey clan generals were very proud of themselves. They had vented their anger. They had not experienced such a great victory for a long time. In the past, they had always been beaten by the dragonoid race and suppressed in the human race's cities. They had been extremely sullen. How could they have achieved such a great victory without a single death? What are you still talking about? Attack immediately and wipe out the dragonoid army. Beat them when they are down. City Lord Bai Lihu shouted and gave the order. Hearing this, the eyes of the surrounding Bailey clan generals lit up. They were the best at beating a dog when it was down. Previously, the dragonoid army had the advantage in numbers, but now they had the advantage in numbers. Without the support of the dragonoid kings, the ordinary dragonoid army was no match for them. Yes, attack. Wipe out the dragonoid army. Kill. Immediately, the city gate of the Bailey city opened, and countless human warriors moved out, especially the generals of the Bailey clan. They took the lead and chased after the remaining dragon human kings. Not good run. Damned humans. We'll definitely be back. Report to the great emperor immediately. A monstrous human expert has appeared here. He must be eliminated as soon as possible. Xia Ping of the human race, I've remembered you. In the future, we will not rest until one of us is dead. This enmity is irreconcilable. The expressions of the remaining dragon human kings changed drastically. Now not only did they have to deal with the monstrous human race expert, but they also had to deal with the commander of the 100-mile city. How could they resist? Even so, the hatred in their hearts was monstrous, and they swore that they would definitely return with their troops. Not only would they slaughter the entire 100-mile city, but they would also kill Xia Ping and his clansmen to avenge themselves. Without another word, they immediately fled into the distance, using all their strength, and even burning their qi and blood. They were afraid that if they were a step too late, they would be killed by the human powerhouses. Trying to escape? Is it that easy? Xia Ping's eyes gleamed coldly. Even though these dragon human kings did not pose too much of a threat to him, he did not intend to let the tiger return to the mountain. Those who became his enemies must die. Mystical ability, rock steps. Using the rock steps, he turned into a rock, blending into the void and controlling the airflow. His speed was so fast that the naked eye could not see him clearly. Holding the hell spear in his hand, he was like a demon god from hell, charging towards the group of dragon human kings. Dong! He approached the dragon human kings, and with a light thrust, a dragon human king was immediately pierced through. He was nailed in the air like a barbecue. Such power was like a tiger entering a flock of sheep. The dragon human kings were as weak as babies, and were slaughtered. No, 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 spare us, spare us. I surrender. Don't kill me, please don't kill me. Spare my life. I'll give you whatever you want. I have money, a lot of money. The dragon human kings were all terrified. They no longer had any courage or thoughts of revenge. They kept begging for mercy, hoping that Xia Ping would spare their lowly lives. Mercy! Bai Lihu and the others sneered. When the dragon human race slaughtered the human race, why didn't they spare the human race? Back then the dragon human race was arrogant and domineering, running amok in the wild. Why didn't they spare the human race when they encountered the human race? Before, these dragon human race people were still clamoring about slaughtering the entire 100-mile city, killing the men, and making the women slaves. Now that they were weak, they wanted to beg for mercy. How could there be such a good thing in the world? Xiaoping did not show mercy. Holding the hell's spear, he beheaded the dragon human kings, like a god of death harvesting the lives of the living. After a while, all the dragon human kings were beheaded. None of them could escape. As for the elite dragon human army, without the protection of the dragon human kings, they were just slightly larger ants in the face of the human race's king-level generals. They were nothing. In just an hour, the million dragon human army was almost dead. Only a small portion of the elite dragon human army saw that the situation was not good and quickly escaped from the battlefield. But it was not a big deal for these dragon human soldiers to escape. We won. A general of the Bailey clan was extremely excited. He was still stained with the blood of the dragon human race. He had not experienced such a one-sided battle before. When would the human race be able to chase the dragon human race like dogs and scare them like stray dogs? If it was such a battle, he hoped that it would happen several times a day. Fortunately, Xia is here. Otherwise, we would be finished. By Lihu's side, many generals of the Bailey clan nodded. If Xiaoping had not shown his prowess in this battle, even if the 100-mile city had not been breached, they would have suffered heavy casualties. They would not have been able to achieve such a complete victory. Moreover, they had also seized a large number of powerful weapons and armors left behind by the dragon human army. They had made a huge profit. They looked at Xiaoping, who was standing in the distance, with great gratitude and reverence. Immediately report this news to the holy city. I believe they have been waiting for this news for a long time. Bai Lihu said, yes, if the great emperors and elders of the holy city knew this news, they would probably be shocked. Bai Lihan smiled. The other generals of the Bailey clan also laughed, looking very relaxed. Chapter 1284. Dragon God City, a great hall. Many elders of the dragon human race were gathered here. After all, it was a time of war between the human race and the dragon human race. In times of war, they were also in a state of alert, constantly monitoring the movements of the great human emperor to prevent the dragon human race from suffering heavy losses. However, the atmosphere in the great hall was still relatively relaxed, because they were only dealing with a human city, not a holy city. Therefore, this was a small matter. When do you guys think this war will end? An elder of the dragon human race asked casually. Probably in a day. 1 day is enough to take care of the so-called 100-mile city. No, I think 6 hours is enough. After all, we have mobilized 100 dragon human kings this time. Destroying a small human city is a piece of cake. You guys are still underestimating the human race. I think half a day is enough. Under the desperate resistance of the human race, they can still hold on for a while and cause some trouble for the dragon human race army. Since we have different opinions, let's make a bet to see whose guess is correct. Interesting. Then I'll bet a dragon crystal that they can break through within 6 hours. TSK, the stakes are not small. Alright, I'll bet a dragon crystal that they will need half a day to break through. Many elders of the dragon human race were in high spirits, casually pointing out the situation. They all felt that the victory of the dragon human race army was not a big problem. The only problem was how long it would take for them to win. They all began to bet against each other, treating this as a game. Report. At this moment, a scout ran in hurriedly. He was extremely fast and ran into the great hall, drenched in sweat. Here they are. There's news in less than 6 hours. Looks like Wester and the rest have already broken through the human city. The dragon human race army has won a great victory. Looks like I've won this time. A dragon human elder laughed heartily, because he had bet that the dragon human race army would win within 6 hours. In other words, he was the big winner, winning a large number of dragon crystals. Damn, it's only been less than 6 hours, and there's already news. The human race army is too wasteful. Trash humans, they have no combat power at all. They can't even hold on for half a day. The human race is really a useless race. Don't they have anyone who can fight? The group of dragon man elders cursed and cursed, their hearts aching. It was because the humans had lost too quickly that they had lost a lot of dragon crystals. This was a huge loss. Even though they were elders of the dragon human race, It was extremely difficult for them to obtain a dragon crystal. Elder, no, it's not like that. The spy was sweating profusely and panicking. We lost. Wester and the rest were defeated by the humans. The million-strong dragonmen army was annihilated, and the 100 dragonmen kings were all killed. Not a single one was spared. Only a few thousand dragonmen managed to escape with their lives. The rest were either captured or killed. It's a huge loss, a huge loss. What? At those words, the countless draconid elders in the hall fell silent, as if time had stopped. It was so quiet that even the dripping of water in the distance could be heard. They could not believe what they had just heard, because it was too unbelievable. Not only did the dragonmen army not win within 6 hours, but they were even annihilated by the humans. What kind of joke was this? Bastard, how dare you lie about the military situation here? Don't you know that this is a serious crime? You should be executed. A dragonid elder shouted with a murderous aura. He thought that the spy might be a spy of the human race, lying about the military situation and shaking the morale of the army. No, 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 elder, it's true. It's all true. The spy hurriedly said. I'm only the first spy, and I only brought back news of Wester's defeat. The other spies will come back one after another, and they can prove that what I said is true. As soon as he finished speaking, several spies appeared outside the hall. Report, Wester has been defeated, and the million dragonmen kings have been annihilated. The million-strong dragonmen army has been annihilated, and they were chased for 3,000 miles. Not even their corpses were left. The humans took advantage of this great victory and pursued the dragonmen, breaking through 18 cities of the dragonmen and killing countless dragonmen. Flames of war are rising everywhere, and Dragon God City, please send reinforcements. One by one, the spies came back with this news. Countless elders in the hall were shocked. If the news brought back by one spy was false, then could the news brought back by so many spies be false? Impossible, a dragonid elder shouted. The dragonmen army is invincible, and no one is a match for them. Now they have the advantage in numbers, and they are bearing down on us. How powerful are the 100 dragonmen kings? How could a mere city of 100 miles be able to destroy the elite troops of the dragonmen? What happened? Did the great human emperor secretly make a move? He thought that it might be the work of a human emperor-level expert, which was why such a ridiculous thing had happened. Otherwise, with the power of the human 100-mile city, how could they have chased a million dragonmen army for 3,000 miles? They were either killed or captured. No, there was only one person who killed the dragonmen, and it wasn't the great human emperor. The spy immediately said, "Who did it? Which bastard of the human race did it?" A group of dragonid elders roared in anger. His name is Xia Ping, and he seems to be a newly ascended king of the human race. The spy trembled. But that human is a demon, and his combat strength is terrifying. He could fight 100 people alone, and this time, he single-handedly destroyed the 100 dragonmen kings of Wester. His strength is terrifying beyond compare. He recalled what had happened on the battlefield, and immediately shivered. That posture was that of a great emperor. Bullshit, a dragonid elder scolded. A newly ascended king of the human race could kill 100 dragonmen kings. Do you think that he is the resurrection of the dragon god? What a joke. He did not believe the spy's words at all. It's true. Many spies can testify for me. I swear to the dragon god. The spy swore to the heavens. All the elders fell silent. An oath to the dragon god was the highest oath to the dragonmen, and it was impossible for them to lie. Xiaoping of the human race. At this moment, a drawn-out voice sounded from the depths of the main hall. The rhythm seemed to resonate with heaven and earth, reverberating back and forth in the main hall, containing supreme majesty. This man must be eliminated, or he will become a great threat to the dragonmen. All the elders of the dragonmen were solemn, because the person who spoke was the great emperor of the dragonmen, the supreme ruler of the dragonmen, and also the strongest expert of the dragon god continent. The dragonmen must eliminate this man. The voice sounded again. Yes. Chapter 1285. In a great hall in the holy city of the human race. At this moment, Countless human race elders had gathered in the Great Hall. The atmosphere was solemn and gloomy, and everyone's faces were filled with grief and indignation. Damn it! The 100-Mile City is currently under attack by the Dragon Men. But we, as elders of the Holy City, do nothing and watch our brothers of the human race being slaughtered by the Dragon Men. What a disgrace! A human race elder gritted his teeth indignantly. There's nothing we can do. The Dragon Men are eyeing our holy city covetously, and their main force is watching our holy city. If we dare to act rashly, they won't mind mobilizing their main force to destroy our holy city. We can die, but the holy city cannot be lost. Another white-haired elder shook his head and said helplessly. The other human race elders also clenched their fists. Similar situations had occurred many times, but they could only stay in the holy city every time, and could not do anything. Without their help, the 100-Mile City would most likely be in danger. Report! At this moment, a scout ran in from the outside at an extremely fast speed. What? How can there be news so quickly? Has the 100-Mile City been destroyed? Many elders' expressions changed drastically. It had only been less than 6 hours since the battle began. Under normal circumstances, news should not have spread so quickly. Could it be that the power of the Dragon Men this time was beyond imagination, and the 100-Mile City could not even withstand the attack for 6 hours? Speak, what's the situation in the 100-Mile City? How many people survived? A human race elder asked. He did not ask if the battle was won, but only asked how many people could escape after the battle, and how many people could survive. He was extremely pessimistic. No, it's a great victory. The 100-Mile City has defeated the Dragon Men army. The scout shouted excitedly. What? Hearing this, the human race elders were stunned. Their first reaction was not joy, but confusion, as if they did not understand what the scout was saying. Elders. However, the scout did not care what the elders thought, and continued to shout excitedly. The Million Dragon Men army led by Wester was chased by the 100-Mile City army for 3,000 miles, and their corpses were strewn all over the place. At the same time, 100 Dragon Men kings also died in this battle. Without the protection of the Dragon Human King, the army of the 100-Mile City broke through 18 cities of the Dragon human race and rescued many of our human brothers who had become slaves. They also plundered a large amount of wealth from the Dragon human race. He quickly told them the information he had obtained. A great victory in the Bailey City? It was only then that the elders present understood what the scout had said. The Dragon human race had not won this battle, but the humans had. They had even annihilated the million-strong Dragon human army. What's going on? How did they obtain such a great victory? A human elder asked curiously. He was well aware of the strength of the 100-Mile City, and knew that they definitely did not have the power to defeat the Dragon Men army. So why did such a situation occur? Because a hero of the human race, Xia, has suddenly appeared in the world. Supposedly, he's from a lowly background, and his strength has attained the peak of the King realm. However, his combat strength is formidable, and is on par with the Emperor realm. The scout replied, Xia alone defeated more than 100 Dragon human kings of the Dragon human race, and scared Wester and the others. Not a single one of them managed to escape. That was why Bailey City was victorious. He was only at the King realm, but his combat strength was comparable to that of an Emperor realm expert. The elders looked at each other. They felt that this news was even more shocking than the 100-Mile City's victory, and the destruction of the 18 cities of the Dragon human race. This meant that another Emperor realm expert might have appeared in the human race. This was an unprecedented event. Quick, go and investigate. I want to know what exactly happened. A white-haired elder immediately ordered. Although they were skeptical of the scout's words, and there might be some exaggeration, they knew that Bailey City had definitely won. Otherwise, the scout would not have sent back the news so quickly. As for whether or not such a powerhouse had really appeared, they still had to carefully investigate it. If this was true, then this would be a major event that would change the entire history of the human race. At this time, in a quiet room in the Bailey City Lord's residence, Xia Ping sat cross-legged in the quiet room and was cultivating. Through this battle, he had killed more than 100 Dragon human kings and obtained 20 to 30 dragon crystals from them. This was a great harvest. After all, dragon crystals were extremely precious treasures, and only the dragon human race possessed them. Moreover, once the dragon human race obtained them, they would quickly use them to strengthen themselves. Therefore, it was extremely difficult to obtain them. Being able to obtain 20 to 30 dragon crystals was already a great benefit. According to the commander of the 100-mile city, the dragon crystals contained unimaginable effects. They could help people cultivate and quickly increase their magic power. They could also help people condense magical powers. It was extremely magical. Without saying anything, Xiaoping swallowed all the dragon crystals and sent them into his stomach. The infernal golden crow's stomach turned into a furnace and quickly digested the dragon crystals. Whoosh! Under the burning of the mystical fire, the dragon crystals melted and turned into a red liquid. This liquid appeared in the stomach like lava. It contained a huge amount of energy and seemed to have a trace of dragon power. Xiaoping's heart shook. When the dragon crystals melted, the red liquid entered his limbs and bones. It seemed to quickly integrate into his blood vessels and was about to turn his body into a dragon human. This was the power of the dragon blood. Its effects were extremely domineering. It was as if it wanted to expel the ordinary bloodlines in his body and turn him into a dragon human. He also understood why the dragon crystals were so precious. It turned out that they were the essence of the dragon blood. They contained domineering dragon blood energy. Once swallowed, the human body would be dragonized, making it several times stronger. It would increase one's aptitude and potential. This was also like bathing in the dragon blood. For the dragon human race, the effects of the dragon crystals were even more shocking. They could purify their bloodlines and evolve towards the direction of a true dragon. But when the dragon blood tried to expel the bloodlines in Xiaoping's body, a cry came from the depths of his body. Immediately, the image of an infernal golden crow appeared in the depths of his blood vessels. It gave off a noble, chaotic, majestic, and other aura. The dragon blood was also stimulated. It quickly turned into a huge dragon and roared at the sky, fighting against the infernal golden crow. Bang, bang, bang. The infernal golden crow and the dragon blood fought in his body. Unfortunately, the dragon blood was still too weak. With a single swipe of its claw, the infernal golden crow tore the dragon blood's body into two. Instantly, the dragon blood's spiritual power was destroyed. All that was left was pure energy, which was quickly devoured by the infernal golden crow. 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, 10,000. In the end, a total of 25,000 infernal golden crow cells were melted. So powerful, Xiaoping felt that his power was increasing rapidly. His infernal golden crow physique seemed to be twice as strong as before. A huge amount of infernal golden crow energy surged out from the depths of his body and tempered his body. Chapter 1286. As expected of the dragon crystal, the effect is too good. Xiaoping clenched his fists. Compared to before he took the dragon crystal, his physique was more than twice as strong as before. He felt that he could crush mountains and flatten rivers with just his physique alone. This was the body of a true divine beast. The blood in his body flowed like lava, and from time to time, flames emerged, forming the shadows of golden crows. There seemed to be many small suns living in his acupoints. If I get more dragon crystals, there might be hope to help me step into the artifact refinement realm and comprehend the supreme power of the formation of heaven and earth. Xiaoping's eyes lit up. He felt that these dragon crystals could not only make his hell golden crow physique stronger and evolve his bloodline, but also enhance his magic power and help him break through to a higher realm. There were simply endless benefits. However, ordinary dragonmen cities might not have many such dragon crystals. It was estimated that only the main city of the dragonmen, Dragon God City, could have a large number of dragon crystals. Beep. At this time, the system's voice suddenly sounded. Congratulations, host, for attracting a large amount of hatred from the dragonmen. This time, you have a total of 500 million hatred points. I hope you will continue to work hard. Xiaoping touched his chin. It seemed that this time, Not only did he get the dragon crystals, but he also gained a lot of hatred from the dragon men. Now he had won 5 billion hatred points. This was one step closer to the 10 billion hatred point mark. I have a good understanding of this world. The next step is to find Wuxia and the others. Xiaoping's eyes flickered. He did not forget that his purpose of coming to the true dragon nest this time was to find Wuxia, Suji, Jiangyaru, and Churong. It was just that he did not look for them before, because he was worried that he would encounter some unexpected danger in the true dragon nest. He wanted to avoid provoking the big shots in the true dragon nest and suffering a disaster. But now, he had a good understanding of this continent and knew that the true dragon had long disappeared from this continent. There was almost no trace of it for tens of thousands of years. And the strongest person was no more than the artifact refinement realm. With his current strength, he did not fear the strongest person in this world, so he was not worried that he would encounter any danger. But this dragon god continent was so vast that it was no less than the cloud realm. Moreover, it was a random teleportation, so no one knew where Wuxia and the others had been teleported to. Just then the system's voice sounded. Host, you can spend 10 million hatred points to find the whereabouts of Wuxia and the others. What? How can you do that? Xiaoping raised his brows. He had not expected that the system would be able to help him search for people. Initially, he had thought that he could borrow the strength of the human race in this world to help him search for Wuxia and the others. There is nothing the system can't do, the system said in a mechanical voice. Xiaoping thought about it and immediately said, Okay, spend 10 million hate points. Yes, host. Immediately, a stream of information came from the depths of the system and flowed into Xiaoping's mind. Ha! Xiaoping closed his eyes. He sensed that he seemed to have followed a mysterious power into the river of destiny, traversing across the entire dragon god continent and arriving at a certain majestic city. That was the sacred land of the dragon human race, Dragon God City. In the deepest part of the city, there was a boundless forbidden area. Legend had it that it was the temporary imperial residence of the dragon god, and it was filled with powerful restrictions. Even the strongest of the dragon human race would not be able to approach it. The forbidden area was surrounded by densely packed restrictions, causing one's scalp to go numb. But this kind of restriction power could not stop the detection of the system. It easily broke through and penetrated in. He immediately saw a huge and majestic palace in the depths of the forbidden area. It was resplendent and entirely made of gold. And in the deepest part of this palace, 4 women appeared. They were Wuxia, Churong, Jiangyaru and Suji. They were currently staying in the depths of the palace to cultivate. Their bodies exuded a powerful aura. They had actually advanced to the late stage of the Purple Mansion realm and had stepped into the inhuman realm. They actually improved so quickly and advanced to the Purple Mansion realm. Xiaoping raised his brows. He sensed the forbidden area and found that there were many secret places in the depths of the dragon god's palace. There were herb gardens with a large number of spirit herbs, study rooms, refining rooms, and so on. There was even a huge hot spring, but it was not an ordinary hot spring. It was the dragon blood hot spring, which seemed to be left behind by the true dragon that once lived here. It was estimated that Wuxia and the others had been bathed in the dragon blood and consumed a large number of precious spirit herbs in this herb garden that allowed them to improve so quickly and advance by leaps and bounds to the Purple Mansion realm. Moreover, because of the tempering of the dragon blood, it had stimulated the potential in their bodies. Their aptitude was several times better than before, and they had already reached the level of peerless geniuses. But success was due to Xiaohe, and failure was due to Xiaohe. Because this was the dragon god forbidden area, they could cultivate in peace in this place without worrying about being disturbed by others. But because the forbidden area's restriction array was too terrifying, they did not have the strength to leave this place. They could only cultivate in this place, which was equivalent to being imprisoned. But fortunately they could not come out. Otherwise, once they stepped into the headquarters of the dragon human race, they would definitely be slapped to death by the furious dragon human race emperors. At this moment, The image was immediately cut off. The system's mysterious power disappeared, and Xiaoping recovered. They actually ran into the Dragon God Forbidden area? Xiaoping was speechless. The difference between people was too big. He had unintentionally fallen into a desolate forest where even birds would not shit, and there were savage beasts everywhere. But Yuchichi and the others had fallen into the Dragon God Forbidden area. There were all kinds of spirit herbs, precious herbs, and even dragon blood. They enjoyed endless benefits, and easily stepped into the Purple Mansion realm. It seems that to save Yuchichi and the others, I have to enter the headquarters of the dragon human race, Dragon God City. Through the image, Xiaoping knew that the Dragon God Forbidden area was in the deepest part of Dragon God City. Apart from entering Dragon God City, there was no other way. That's good. I have to see how strong the Emperor-class experts of this world are. Xiaoping clenched his fists, his fighting spirit boundless. He had advanced to the late stage of the divine realm, consumed a large number of dragon crystals, and awakened a large number of infernal golden crow bloodlines. He did not know how much stronger he had become. Even if he faced a cultivator of the treasure refinement realm, he was not afraid. Even if the other party had many powerful secret treasures, he still had the Saint-class flying ship Stars. He could escape at any time, and there was no need to worry. Moreover, if he wanted to step into the artifact refinement realm, he would need to fight even more powerhouses. Divine realm cultivators could no longer give him much pressure, and only artifact refinement realm cultivators could fight him. At this thought, he immediately stepped out of the room, intending to head to Dragon God City. Xia. Chapter 1287. Holy City. Xiaoping raised his eyebrows. He knew that the Holy City was the headquarters of the human race in this world, and that there were many experts there, including 3 Emperor-level experts. If it was before, he might have been interested in meeting them, but now that he knew the whereabouts of Yuchichi and the others, he did not want to waste any more time in this place. Next time, I still have something to do. Xiaoping waved his hand. Something to do? What are you going to do? Bai Lihu asked curiously. Xiaoping smiled. To Dragon God City. What? Bai Lihu was completely dumbfounded. To Dragon God City? That was the headquarters of the dragon human race, and was even more heavily guarded than the Holy City. There were also 6 dragon human emperors standing guard, and their strength was terrifying beyond compare. Wasn't Xiaoping courting death by going there? But before he could say anything, Xiaoping rose into the air, and quickly left the city lord's residence. The guards of Bai Lihu also saw this scene, but when they saw that it was the hero of the human race, they did not say anything. All of them puffed out their chests, and watched Xiaoping leave with great respect. Several days later, Dragonhorn City was a huge city on the outskirts of Dragon God City, the main city of the dragon human race. It was known as the gateway to Dragon God City, and was equivalent to a fortress that would never fall. The only way to invade Dragon God City was to capture Dragonhorn City. But for tens of thousands of years, Dragonhorn City had never been breached, let alone invaded Dragon God City. It was also because Dragonhorn City was so important that it was incomparably prosperous. After tens of thousands of years, it had become the economic center of the dragon human race, and was incomparably prosperous. At this moment, on a main road 100 kilometers away from Dragonhorn City, a troop of dragon human army was slowly walking over. There were more than 1,000 of them, and they were fully armed. Behind them were tens of thousands of human slaves. They were all captured, because the dragon human army had breached the human city. At this moment, these human slaves were all tied up in steel shackles. There were men and women old and young, but all of them were emaciated and weak. It was obvious that they had been starving for many days. Their eyes were lifeless, and they had already lost all hope for this world. We're almost at Dragonhorn City. You slaves, hurry up and leave. If you're one step slower, I'll break your legs, a dragonborn general shouted, urging these human slaves to hurry up. No, I can't. I've been walking for 3 days and 3 nights, and I still haven't touched a single drop of water. I can't walk anymore. With a thud, some of the human slaves could no longer stand the continuous running, and immediately fell to the ground. Bang! As soon as the human slaves fell to the ground, a draconid soldier beside them whipped out his whip and lashed it at them, cursing, "Bunch of human dogs hit. You've only walked a few steps and eaten for a few days, and you're already babbling and pretending you can't walk. You're all lazy bones, and if you can't walk, I'll beat you until you do." He lashed out again and again, lashing the human slaves on the ground until their skin and flesh burst open. They were drenched in blood and screamed miserably until they quickly got up from the ground. However, there were also some human slaves who could not withstand the scorching sun because they were too hungry and immediately fell to the ground. Their necks were crooked, and they could no longer get up. Evidently, they had completely stopped breathing. Pretending to be dead? Why the hell are you still pretending to be dead? Get up immediately. You humans can only be slaves to the dragon human race. Other than being slaves, what other value do you have? The draconid soldier cursed and continued to whip the human corpse vigorously. He only stopped when the corpse was almost torn to pieces. Pfft, he's really dead. You've really lucked out. The draconid soldier realized that the human was not getting up even after he had whipped so many times, so he was clearly as dead as he could be. However, he did not care. In any case, there were tens of thousands of human slaves here, and the death of a few was nothing. Bastard! Many of the human slaves clenched their fists and gritted their teeth. There was a ball of anger surging in their chests, and they immediately felt a sense of sympathy when they saw one of their human companions die. Once they entered Dragonhorn City, their lives would be over, and they would never be able to escape. They would be ordered around by the dragon human race as slaves for the rest of their lives. However, they also knew that the dragon human race was too powerful, and they were no match for them. Even the human cities had been easily breached by the dragon human army. Now that they were unarmed, how could they be a match for the dragon human race? Forget it, don't beat them to death. These are the Lord's precious goods, and will be sold for a high price in the future. If you beat them to death, and cause the Lord to lose a lot of money, I'm afraid you'll have to answer to that. A draconid captain spoke to stop the draconid soldiers. Yes, Captain. Many draconid soldiers immediately obeyed the order. Although they did not care about the lives of these human slaves, they were still quite fearful of the dragon human noble. After all, he controlled their lives. If they angered the dragon human noble, they would probably have to bear the consequences. But Captain, is the recent news true? It said that the dragon human army attacked a human city and suffered heavy losses. 100 dragon human kings were all killed, and millions of elites were slaughtered by the human army. A draconid soldier asked curiously. This matter was too big, and could not be hidden at all. All living beings on the Dragon God continent knew about it. Even soldiers like them had learned a lot of news, so this made them hate the humans even more. They vented their anger at the loss of the dragon human race's kings on these human slaves. It's true. The draconid captain nodded. I've heard some nobles talk about this. It's said that a human king has appeared. His combat strength is tyrannical and comparable to a great emperor. His name is Xiaping. He's the one who killed 100 draconian kings alone. What? A draconid soldier said in shock. Is the human race going to have a fourth great emperor? The dragon human race currently had the advantage. They had 6 great emperors while the human race only had 3. If there was one more, the gap between the human race and the dragon human race would not be so big. Perhaps, in time, the human race would have a 5th or 6th great emperor. If that was the case, how could the dragon human race dominate the dragon god continent? The many human slaves were secretly excited and overjoyed when they heard this. Although they had become prisoners, they were still extremely excited to hear that so many dragon human kings had been killed. They felt that they had avenged their great hatred. Don't worry, the draconid captain sneered. This matter has already angered the great emperor. He has issued a kill order for the dragon human race. Even the great emperor will take action personally to strangle this scourge in the cradle. I reckon that it won't be long before this human Xiaping is dead. He wants to have a 4th great emperor? Dream on. Chapter 1288. Hearing this, a middle-aged human snorted. So what if the dragon men are to be killed? Lord Xia's battle prowess is comparable to that of a great emperor. How can you dragon men possibly kill him? Moreover, Lord Xia has such battle prowess as a king. Once he ascends to the great emperor realm, so what if he's the dragon man emperor? He'll be slaughtered like a pig. He straightened his back like a spear, his eyes cold. Bastard human, you're courting death. Hearing this, a dragon man soldier flew into a rage. How dare someone insult their great emperor? Wasn't he courting death? Immediately, a few dragon men wanted to step forward and teach this middle-aged man a lesson. Wait. A dragon man general waved his hand to stop his subordinates. Riding a savage beast, he looked down at the shackled middle-aged man with indifference. Gongsun Yang. The dragon man general stared coldly at the middle-aged man who had spoken. This was a human king, Gongsun Yang, the general of Gongsun City, which they had conquered. He was supposed to die on the battlefield, but unfortunately, he was seriously injured and fainted. As a result, he was captured by the Dragon Man King and was now a prisoner. Do you think a puny human can shake the rule of the great emperor? What a joke! The Dragon Man general sneered. Let's not talk about how powerful the 6 great emperors of the Dragon Men are. Let's talk about the oldest great emperor, Caesar. He has lived for 5,000 years and has yet to meet a worthy opponent. Even if the 3 great emperors of the human race worked together, they would still be no match for him. So what if a mere human ascends to the great emperor realm? His disdain for Xiaoping was obvious. In that case, what are you afraid of? Why did you issue the dragon men to be killed? Aren't you trying to cover things up? Gongsun Yang sneered. He had seen through the dragon men's hypocrisy. You! Many dragon men glared at Gongsun Yang, wanting to eat him alive. They were instantly infuriated. There seems to be a human up ahead. Suddenly, a dragon man soldier called out. He looked over and immediately saw a figure slowly approaching from afar, walking along the main road. This figure was clearly a human, for there were no dragon man characteristics on his body. Why are there humans in this place? Many dragonborn soldiers were puzzled because this was the territory of the dragonborn race. Basically, only dragonborn could appear here. There was only one possibility for humans to appear here. They were slaves. Could it be a human slave who got separated from his master? One of the dragon human soldiers guessed. However, a dragonborn soldier immediately retorted, "No, that's not right. If he's a human slave, he should be shackled and shouldn't be able to move freely. Otherwise, he would be violating the laws of the dragonborn. Which dragonborn would dare to do such an illegal thing so brazenly?" In the territory ruled by the dragon human race, all human slaves had to wear shackles, collars, and other things. Otherwise, they would be violating the laws of the dragon human race and would be severely punished. There were basically no human slaves without any shackles on their bodies. Stop! Immediately, a group of dragonoid soldiers rushed forward with spears in their hands. Murderous intent surged from their bodies, and they quickly surrounded this human who had suddenly appeared near Dragonhorn City. They were ready for battle. Clearly, they could sense that this human's appearance in this place was not normal. Who are you? Why have you appeared in this place? The dragonborn general bellowed as he stared fixedly at this unfamiliar human. Not only the dragonborn, but the other human slaves present also stared at this human, who had suddenly appeared in surprise. "My name is Xiaoping." Xiaoping introduced himself. "I'm looking for Dragon God City. May I ask if it's in this direction?" He had left 100 Kilometers City and walked for several days before he finally arrived at this place. Xiaoping? Dragon God City. Hearing these 2 words immediately agitated the dragonborn soldiers and human slaves present. All of them widened their eyes and stared fixedly at Xiaoping. This was because this name had been so well known recently that it had reached the level where everyone knew about it. Xiaoping of the human race. Immediately, the dragonborn general jumped in shock and subconsciously retreated dozens of meters as he stared fixedly at Xiaoping. That's right, the portrait on the wanted poster looks exactly like him. Really? Why would Xiaoping of the human race appear near Dragonhorn City? Judging from his words, it seems like he's looking for Dragon God City. What kind of joke is this? What does a human race expert with battle prowess comparable to a great emperor want to do in Dragon God City? Could this be a conspiracy of the human race? Immediately, many dragonborn soldiers quickly retreated in panic. This was because Xia Ping's previous battle achievements were still vivid in their minds. He had annihilated hundreds of dragonborn kings. To the dragonborn race, he was like a great demon king. Now that such a demon king had appeared in front of them, how could they not panic? Even the dragonborn kings were no match for him. So what else could these useless soldiers and crab generals do? The many human slaves were also dumbfounded. They did not know why this human race hero would suddenly come to Dragonhorn City, the great source of the dragonborn race. This was too strange. Did he come to court death? Kill. Without another word, the dragonborn general shouted. He made a prompt decision and immediately issued an order for the surrounding dragonborn soldiers to surround and kill Xia Ping. Although they were afraid of Xia Ping's battle achievements, they would never retreat when they saw a human invading the territory of the dragonborn. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Among them were 3 dragonborn generals and thousands of elite dragonborn soldiers. They immediately abandoned the human slaves around them and wielded sharp blades in their hands, forming a majestic battle formation. It seems that none of you dragonborn know how to talk nicely. Xia Ping sighed. He had encountered many dragonborn soldiers along the way, but without exception, these dragonborn attacked him ruthlessly and wanted to take his life. The difference in strength between the human race and the dragonborn was huge. It was like a sheep and a lion. To the lion, the sheep was nothing but food. What right did the sheep have to be on equal footing with it and coexist on the prairie? Of course, he would not show mercy to such an enemy. He did not even look at them. He gently pointed a finger, and a terrifying magical power shot out. Oh no! The 3 dragonborn generals' expressions changed drastically. They felt that this finger was extremely terrifying. It sealed the heavens and the earth and locked all their auras. No matter where they fled to, they could not escape the attack of this finger. Boom! Chapter 1289. Lord Commander. Many dragonmen soldiers were scared out of their wits, and their bodies were trembling. Those were king-level dragonmen. Although they were not powerful king-level experts, they were still king-level experts, second only to the emperor-level experts. Each of them was equivalent to a feudal lord in the Dragon God continent. Usually, the death of one of them would be a big deal. But now, 3 of them had been killed in an instant. They had died a more pathetic death than weeds. Hurry up! Go to Dragonhorn City and ask for reinforcements. Human experts are invading. Human experts are invading. A dragonoid captain shouted loudly and immediately sent out a distress signal, asking for help from the king-level warriors of Dragonhorn City. He knew that the 3 king-level commanders had been killed in an instant. Even if the dragonoid soldiers banded together, they would not be a match for this human. Their only role was to stall for time and wait for the king-level warriors of Dragonhorn City to come out. Other than that, they had no other way. Too powerful. It's really Lord Xia. Gong Sunyang and the other humans were also dumbfounded. Their names might be the same, but their strength could not be faked. Who else could kill 3 king-level dragonoid experts in an instant except for the legendary Xia Ping? Let's go! Facing the charge of thousands of dragonoid soldiers, Xia Ping's magic power burst out, and he threw a palm at the void. Martial arts magic, Great Yin-Yang Tablet Breaking Palm. In the void, a big black and white hand appeared immediately, covering the sky and the sun. It was 2 to 3 kilometers long, and the yin and yang airflows merged together to form a giant millstone. And this millstone crushed down from mid-air, carrying a terrifying power that could destroy everything. Dong! It was only a palm, but it was as if the sky and the earth had collided. Immediately, thousands of dragonoid soldiers, together with the wild beasts they were riding, were immediately smashed into meat pies, sinking deep into the ground. There was even a huge palm print on the ground that was 5 kilometers long. Numerous cracks appeared on the ground, densely packed and extending to who knew how far. The cracks were like abysses. Stones fell into them, but there was no sound for a long time. It was as if the power of the palm had penetrated the earth. And the power of this palm was simply amazing. Except for the dragonoid soldiers, the other human slaves were all unscathed. The power of the palm was perfectly controlled, without any leakage. Oh my god, he's too powerful. He killed over 1,000 Dragonman soldiers with a single palm strike, and turned them into meat pies. A human slave was so scared that his face turned pale. When had he ever seen such a powerful king? Perhaps only the legendary great martial emperors could compare to him. It's too violent. Thousands of Dragonman soldiers can't escape, even if they want to. Many human slaves shuddered. No one knew better than them how much combat power these Dragonoid soldiers possessed. These Dragonoid soldiers were all elites with powerful battle prowess. One of them could take on 3 human warriors of the same level. Moreover, they were in groups. The power of a single charge was enough to defeat an army of 10,000. Killing human warriors was like mowing grass. They were simply invincible. There was a saying that if the Dragonians did not exceed 10,000, then they would be invincible. This was enough to prove the strength of the Dragonians. They were indeed the overlords of this world, occupying more than 70% of the land. However, such a tyrannical army was actually slapped to death by Xia Ping with a single palm, becoming a meat pie. No matter how imaginative they were, they could never have imagined that such a thing would happen. As expected of the legendary hero of the human race, his strength is not fake. In the distance, Gong Sunyang looked at Xia Ping with reverence, as if he was looking at his idol. With such invincible strength, he indeed had the bearing of a great emperor. Is Dragonhorn City in front? After slapping these Dragonoid soldiers to death, Xia Ping directly came before Gong Sunyang. He could sense that Gong Sunyang was at least in the middle stage of the immortal realm. He was the strongest among this group of human slaves. He believed that he would definitely get the answer he wanted to know by asking this person. That's right. Dragonhorn City is in front. It's the gateway city of Dragon God City. If you want to enter Dragon God City, you must first enter Dragonhorn City. Hearing Xia Ping's question, Gong Sunyang told him all the information he knew. That's great. Looks like I didn't go the wrong way. Xia Ping nodded. My lord, what do you want to do in Dragon God City? Gong Sunyang asked subconsciously after some thought. Xia Ping stood with his hands clasped behind his back. Nothing much. I just want to spar with the dragon people's great emperor, and see if he lives up to his reputation. What? Hearing this, not only Gong Sunyang, but the human slaves beside him were also stunned. They had thought of various reasons why Xia Ping had come here, including wanting to rescue a large number of human slaves, sabotage the enemy's operation, or some secret mission. But they never thought that Xia Ping wanted to enter Dragon God City and spar with the dragon people's great emperor. If Xia Ping wasn't a hero of the human race, they would definitely think that there was something wrong with his head, and that he had gone completely mad. What kind of place was Dragon God City? It was the headquarters of the Dragon God clan, and had 6 emperor-level experts as well as countless Dragonoid kings. Entering this place was no different from seeking death. Xia Ping suddenly attacked. He lightly pressed down with his palm, and a terrifying power enveloped the nearby humans. Dong! Immediately, Gong Sunyang and the others felt their bodies tremble lightly. The various steel shackles on their bodies shattered and fell to the ground. They finally regained their freedom, and were instantly overjoyed. All right, now that you're free, you should leave this place immediately. Xia Ping waved his hand and said to Gong Sunyang and the others, of course, this is the territory of the Dragonoid race, and there may be pursuers from the Dragonoid race everywhere. Whether you can survive or not depends on you. My lord, don't worry. My lord saved us from the Dragonoid race, so we naturally know how to escape. Yes, if the Dragonoid soldiers catch up to us, then we can only blame our bad luck. But is my lord really going to Dragon God City? That's a dangerous place. Gong Sunyang and the others clenched their fists, but they still looked at Xia Ping worriedly. Whoosh! Xia Ping did not say anything, and turned to leave. The group was stunned. Forget it. My lord has his own plans, and it's not up to us to interfere. Let's think about how to escape from the Dragonoid race's territory. This is a difficult mission. Gong Sunyang looked at the crowd. Yes, Lord Gong Sunyang. The crowd nodded. At this time, in the city lord's residence of Dragonhorn City, a banquet was being held. At this moment, a large number of Dragonoid kings had gathered. They had been summoned by City Lord Bardic to discuss the Dragonoid must-kill order, which was a major event that would affect the entire Dragonoid race. Chapter 1290. In the banquet hall of the City Lord's residence, many beautiful Dragonman maids were busy, constantly coming out of the kitchen with delicious food, and there were also many women serving at the side, looking like they were living a luxurious life. In fact, if a dynasty had been strong for too long, and there were no foreign enemies, the upper echelons would basically be in a state of corruption. After all, they had nothing else to do but enjoy themselves. At this time, City Lord Batik of Dragonhorn City said, "Today, I have gathered everyone here for no other reason than to discuss the Dragonman must-kill order recently issued by the Great Emperor. I believe that everyone knows the benefits of the Dragonman must-kill order. If it can be completed, the Great Emperors will grant one wish, no matter what it is, even if it is to become the Emperor of the Dragonman Kingdom." Hearing this, many Dragonman kings' eyes lit up, and they were extremely tempted. This was the supreme benefit of the Dragonman must-kill order. Once it was completed, they could obtain many benefits from the Great Emperor, which was why countless Dragonmen would rush to kill the enemies on the Dragonman must-kill order in a frenzy. Of course, becoming an emperor is just a small matter. For us Dragonman kings, power and status are at our fingertips, and it is nothing at all. Only becoming a great emperor is our eternal pursuit. Batik clenched his fists. This was the desire of all Dragonman kings. Because completing the Dragonman must-kill order could obtain the wishes of the great emperors, they could also be enlightened by the 6 great emperors of the Dragonman race, and help them break through the bottleneck. With the full help of the great emperors, experts at the pinnacle of the king level would have a 30% higher chance of breaking through, which was much better than any treasure. In fact, the birth of the 6th Dragonman Great Emperor was because he had completed the Dragonman must-kill order mission and obtained the enlightenment of the 5 great emperors, allowing him to truly break through to the emperor level. This also gave all the Dragonmen who were stuck at the pinnacle of the king level a glimmer of hope to break through. As long as they completed the Dragonman must-kill order, they would have a chance to step into the emperor level. Don't worry, City Lord Batik. We all know why you have called us here. You just want to gather our strength to help you kill the human Xiaoping. And after the deed is done, you will give us a lot of benefits and things like that. We are tired of hearing these things. That's right, City Lord Batik. You've always taken care of us. If we don't help you at the critical moment, who will? That's right. If City Lord Batik can become a great emperor, it will be of great benefit to the family behind us. It's just killing a puny human. What's the big deal? That's right, that's right. With us around, it's just child's play. The great emperor is simply giving the city lord an opportunity. The Draconian kings shouted and patted their chests to show their loyalty. However, there were also many Draconian kings whose eyes flickered, each with their own ulterior motives. In truth, they were also planning to act at the crucial moment and chop off the human Xiaoping's head to complete their own mission. After all, Bardic was not the only one who wanted to become a great emperor. All of them had the same thought. How could watching others become great emperors compare to becoming great emperors himself? Of course, they would not say these plans out loud. After all, they still needed City Lord Batik's influence to gather so many Draconian kings to complete the plan to kill the human Xiaoping. Good, very good. It's not in vain that I've treated you all so well. I believe that with your help, this plan will definitely succeed. Bardic laughed heartily. He was in a very good mood. He could almost see himself becoming the great emperor of the dragon people, a transcendent existence that stood above countless Draconian people. Report. At this moment, a Draconian soldier rushed into the banquet hall and quickly came to the City Lord's side. He shouted, "City Lord, there's an urgent military report." Urgent military report? What's the matter? Bardic frowned. He knew that these soldiers would not ignore his orders and barge into the banquet hall if they did not have a very important report. The three commanders have sent a distress signal from outside the city. It's very urgent. The draconian soldier immediately said. The report shows that experts of the human race are coming. Now the three commanders are dead, and even thousands of elite draconian soldiers have been annihilated. A large number of human slaves have been rescued. Experts of the human race are coming? Which mongrel human has the guts to come to my Dragonhorn city and make trouble? Is he tired of living? Bardic flew into a rage when he heard this. Dragonhorn City was the gateway to Dragon God City, and could be said to be under the feet of the Emperor. It was naturally a very honorable position to become the city lord of Dragonhorn City, and many draconian kings wanted to get it. But the greater the honor, the greater the responsibility. If something happened to Dragonhorn City, then he, Bardic, would most likely lose his head. It's the human race's Xiaoping. The draconian soldier stammered. What? The draconian kings present were all stunned. They never thought that they would hear this name from the draconian soldier. They had planned to hunt Xiaoping down all over the world. But now, he had come straight to their door, and even came to Dragonhorn City. They did not need to look for him at all. What an arrogant human! Bardic flew into a rage. Everyone knows that the draconian race has issued a must-kill order, and that he has become a target of the draconian race. Why didn't he obediently hide in the sacred city of the human race like a coward, and not come out for the rest of his life? That bastard actually dared to come to Dragonhorn City and attack us. How bold is he? The draconian kings nodded. They had never seen such an arrogant human in their lives, and they had never seen a human who dared to attack Dragonhorn City. This was unprecedented in the countless years of the draconian race's history. After all, who did not know that Dragonhorn City and Dragon God City were dangerous places? Who would dare to come to their deaths? The draconian soldier continued. He is not just arrogant. It seems that Xiaoping of the human race wants to attack Dragon God City and compete with the great emperors. Fuck him. Bardic was furious and immediately cursed. He wants to enter Dragon God City? What does he think Dragonhorn City is? Is it his backyard that he can come and go as he pleases? If he dares to come to Dragonhorn City, I will immediately make him bleed. If he wanted to go to Dragon God City, he had to trample Dragonhorn City. In other words, the draconian kings of Dragonhorn City were useless, and could not stop him at all. As the draconian kings, they were all extremely arrogant. How could they stand such contempt? Boom. At this moment, the entire Dragonhorn City shook violently, as if a magnitude 9 earthquake had occurred. The draconian kings of the city lord's residence felt the violent tremors. Everything on the dining table was shaken to the point that it fell to the ground. What the hell is happening? Bardic was furious. Chapter 1291. The city gate has been kicked in, and an enemy has invaded? City Lord Bartik felt as though his head was about to explode when he heard this. Ever since the Dragonhorn City was built, there had never been a history of an enemy breaking through its city gate. No, there had never even been a history of an enemy invasion. It was terrifyingly safe. It could be said that the Dragonhorn City was known as one of the safest cities of the dragon human race. It was the last fortress that guarded the headquarters of the dragon human race, and was known as the holy city in the eyes of the dragon human race. But now, such a holy city had been invaded by a human, and the city gate had been kicked in. This was an unprecedented serious situation that was enough to shake the entire dragon human race. For the city lord of the Dragonhorn City, this was a huge stain on the glorious history of the city, enough to make countless dragon human elders impeach him, and he might be imprisoned for hundreds of years before he could come out. The other dragon human kings also turned pale with fright. They also knew that this was no trivial matter. It was not only about the Dragonhorn City, but also a major event that concerned the entire dragon human race. If even the Dragonhorn City, known as the last fortress of the dragon human race, could be easily broken through by the human race, then where else would the dragon human race be safe? As the commanders of the Dragonhorn City, they absolutely could not escape this crime. Where is that Xia Ping of the human race? I will go and kill him immediately. City Lord Bartik almost roared, his face extremely ferocious. And no one could imagine how angry he was at this moment. City Lord, he is at the city gate, that demon is at the city gate. And now countless of our brothers have been killed and injured, countless have been killed and injured. The dragon human soldier was terrified. And when he recalled the scene just now, he shuddered, as though his courage as a dragon human had disappeared completely in front of that demon of the human race. This was not as simple as a living creature, but a creature of another dimension, like an ant in front of an elephant, which could not be shaken at all. No matter how they attacked that human, he was fine, but he could trample them to death with just one foot. Go kill him. Batik gave a loud shout and gave the order. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Immediately, the hundreds of dragon human kings at the banquet immediately moved, flying in the direction of the city gate at an extremely fast speed, producing a piercing sound. They were almost using all their strength. Before long, they arrived at the city gate. Oh my God! When Bartik saw this scene, his eyes widened so much that they were about to pop out of their sockets, and even his heart was bleeding. It was originally several hundred meters tall, and its entire body was made from the precious metals of the dragon human race. It was incomparably majestic, and it had not fallen for tens of thousands of years. It could be said to be the city gate of Dragonhorn City. In order to build this city gate, the dragon human race had paid a huge price, and it could be said to be a waste of manpower and resources. Such a precious city gate had already been trampled into pieces by that brute of a human, and was now lying on the ground. There was even a strange, round creature about the size of a soccer ball, that was happily munching on the fragments of the city gate. It even made chewing noises, as if it was very happy. In just a short while, half of the towering city gate fragments had disappeared into the strange creature's stomach. Who knew how this football-sized creature could eat so much? Could it be that there was a dimensional space bag in its stomach? Seeing this, the faces of the Dragonoid kings turned green. Originally, they had planned to smelt the city gate and piece it back together after driving away the human. Perhaps it could even be restored to its original state and be used as a facade. But now, they had no such plans. They had all been eaten by that detestable creature. What infuriated them the most was that there were countless elite Dragonoid soldiers lying on the ground. They were all lying on the ground, foaming at the mouth, and it was unknown whether they were dead or alive. It was a scene of corpses strewn all over the ground. And among these people, the only one who was still standing was that human Xia Ping. Human! Bartik roared and stared at Xia Ping. How dare you cause trouble in my Dragonhorn City, and injure so many of my soldiers? What exactly do you want to do here? He forcibly suppressed his anger, and did not act rashly. After all, no matter how he thought about it, a human who had single-handedly barged into Dragonhorn City. If it were anyone else, perhaps they would have lost their minds and gone mad. But this person was a human expert who had killed hundreds of Dragonoid kings, so he had no choice but to be cautious. He even suspected that this was a plot of the human race. This also made him not dare to act rashly, lest he fell into the trap of the human race. I'm passing by. Xia Ping uttered these two words indifferently. Passing by. The group of Dragonoid kings was stunned, barging into Dragonhorn City, smashing the city gate that had not fallen for 10,000 years with one kick, and injuring a large number of Dragonoid soldiers, just because he was passing by. And blocking the way a hindrance. Xia Ping continued with these 6 words. Hindrance my ass. Hearing this, Bartik was so angry that his nostrils were snorting. Human, you're going to die today. I don't care what you're doing in Dragonhorn City today, or what tricks the human race has up their sleeves. But if you dare to come to Dragonhorn City to cause trouble today, you can only walk in and go out lying on your back. He roared wildly, his voice like the roar of a war drum, shaking the whole city. Even among the many Dragonoid kings, Bartik was an absolute expert, and was reputed to be the most promising existence to step into the great emperor realm. That was why he could stand against the majority, defeat countless competitors, and seize the position of City Lord of Dragonhorn City. Once upon a time, He was also a god of slaughter on the battlefield. The heads of the creatures he chopped off were enough to build a 1,000-meter-tall mountain. His murderous aura was so terrifying that it was almost tangible. Go, kill this human. Bardic had no intention of fighting Xiaoping alone. This was Dragonhorn City, one of the giant cities of the Dragonoid race. There were hundreds of Dragonoid kings and millions of Dragonoid warriors. Furthermore, every citizen of Dragonhorn City was a soldier. If he wanted to, he could mobilize all the Dragonoid people in Dragonhorn City and use a human wave tactic against Xiaoping, drowning him in a sea of people. He believed that no matter how powerful this kid was, as long as he had not stepped into the Great Emperor realm, he would only end up in Dragonhorn City with a grievance. Xiaoping's expression was very indifferent. At his level, the human wave tactic was already useless against him. He was now a tactical nuclear missile, the kind that could explode countless times. In the nuclear age, even if the ordinary human army reached millions or tens of millions, how could they withstand the explosion of thousands of nuclear bombs? It was nothing more than a few nuclear bombs exploding to annihilate all the ordinary people. Remarkable ability, 8 Heavenly Dragon music. Xiaoping stood where he was and immediately used the supreme sound wave remarkable ability. Wu, gu, ba, ma, ah, 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 ah. Chapter 1292. Vaguely, the 8 syllables transformed into 8 magical talismans. Like musical cymbals, it was as if a heavenly dragon was roaring, and the waves of sound seeped into every corner of Dragonhorn City. Soon, all the Dragonians in Dragonhorn City heard the roar of the heavenly dragon. They immediately felt a heartfelt fear, as if they had encountered a superior species. This was the natural suppression of their bloodline, and it was as if they had encountered a king who ruled over them. For these Dragonians, they only had a trace of dragon bloodline, and could not compare to a real giant dragon. Therefore, once they encountered a giant dragon, none of them had the strength to resist. Bam! 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 Immediately, the weaker Dragonians of Dragonhorn City were knocked unconscious on the ground, foaming at the mouth, and their eyes rolled back. They passed out completely. Millions of elite soldiers could not resist either, and all of them fainted. Only a few of them could stand up. Even the kings of the Dragonians felt that their bodies were on the verge of collapse, as if a part of their strength had disappeared. They could not stop trembling and shivering. They felt a trace of fear from the depths of their hearts, and seemed to be so frightened that they could only crawl on the ground. If they had not advanced to the divine realm, and their divine senses were very powerful, they would have followed in the footsteps of the other Dragonian soldiers, and could not resist at all. Alright, do you still have the numerical advantage now? Xiaoping stood with his hands clasped behind his back, looking calmly at the kings of the Dragonians in front of him. Although using the 8 heavenly dragons' music to stun all the Dragonians in the city required a lot of his magical power, his magical power was more than 100 times that of a cultivator at the pinnacle of the divine realm of the same level. This bit of consumption was nothing at all, and he could immediately recover with just a little bit of skill. What kind of martial magical power is this? Why can it imitate the roar of the dragon god? Bartik was shocked, looking at the human Xiaoping in front of him in disbelief. Even the Dragonians had not learned such authentic dragon language, because every syllable of the true dragon could cause the power of heaven and earth to resonate, and contained infinite power. This was the power of the true dragon, and they had not inherited it, so they could only speculate. Why don't you ask the king of hell? Xiaoping was not interested in explaining anything to him, and punched through the void. Fast, too fast. Batik's hair stood on end. He felt that Xiaoping's fist was extremely terrifying. It was like an antelope hanging its horn without a trace, but it was also like an immemorial heavy hammer, containing an unparalleled pressure. It was also like a falling star. The fist energy contained in such a punch was enough to shatter stars. His pupils constricted, and he couldn't even move his feet before the fist smashed into his body. The force of his fist penetrated through the paper, and a terrifying force exploded in Bardik's body. Even though he had the defensive power that the dragon human race was proud of in his scales, It was of no use. Dong! Bardic's body exploded like a watermelon, turning into a mass of minced meat that splattered on the ground, dyeing the land red. The city lord of Dragonhorn City was dead. This sudden turn of events immediately jolted the other draconian kings out of their trance. Just one punch was enough to blow up City Lord Batik. How astonishing was this strength! Rumor had it that Xia Ping had the strength to kill hundreds of draconian kings. And it was not an exaggeration. But even so, it couldn't stop the anger in the hearts of these draconian kings. If this human was allowed to come and go as he pleased in Dragonhorn City, what dignity would they have left? Die, human! Everyone, let's join forces and kill him. Immediately, dozens of draconian kings at the peak of the magical realm charged forward. They were proficient in fist techniques, leg techniques, blade techniques, or sword techniques. Every one of them had cultivated such martial techniques to the magical realm, and every move they made had the power to influence the world and twist the universe. When they attacked at the same time, it was as if a nuclear bomb had exploded. If he hadn't consumed the dragon crystals, perhaps Xia Ping would have avoided them and feared them. But after consuming a large number of dragon crystals, the golden crow of hell bloodline in his body had become more intense, and his strength, speed, and physical defense had more than doubled. It was a piece of cake for him to deal with these draconian kings. Magical martial arts, lightning fist. In an instant, Xia Ping used the lightning fist technique, and a lightning symbol magical talisman emerged from the purple mansion space. Terrifying lightning power burst out from the deepest part of his body. Immediately, a fist seal appeared in midair. This fist seal contained the power of thunder. It was like a thunder dragon, crackling and releasing purple light. It was extremely dazzling. Dong! This fist hit a draconian king, and the terrifying lightning power instantly pierced through his body. A large, charred hole appeared in his chest and blood flowed out. The lightning energy even transformed into a lightning spear and extended outwards. The two dragonoid kings behind him were also pierced by this lightning spear. They all stared with their eyes wide open, not knowing what had happened. Their bodies were blown up by a single punch, and the lightning power exploded in the depths of their bodies. Too fast. Many of the draconian kings were shocked. This punch was not only powerful, but also incredibly fast. They saw that Xia Ping seemed to have turned into a bolt of lightning, and his whole body was surrounded by lightning. In an instant, he disappeared from where he was, and in the next second, he appeared beside the other draconian kings, and then pierced through their bodies with a single punch. From the moment they attacked to the moment they died, only a second had passed. How could they have reacted in such a short period of time? Xia Ping was like a tiger in a flock of sheep. His body had completely turned into a bolt of lightning, flashing continuously in this area, and shuttling in front of these draconian kings. The lightning fist not only represented that the fist technique contained the power of lightning, but also the power of speed. One could turn into lightning, and be so fast that the enemy could not even react. The surrounding draconian kings only saw a bolt of lightning running on the scene. Bang, bang, bang. In just 3 minutes, hundreds of draconian kings were lying in pools of blood, with a large hole in their chests. A large amount of blood flowed on the ground, and the air was filled with the strong smell of blood. Shocking craters were also blasted on the ground. Gravel flew in all directions and countless cracks appeared. It was a mess. Impossible. The remaining draconian kings were shocked. Even though they had raised the rumors to the peak, and repeatedly raised Xia Ping's strength, they were still extremely shocked when they saw this scene. They had been surrounded by hundreds of draconian kings, and yet they could not even touch the hem of his clothes. Instead, hundreds of draconian kings were killed, and there were heavy casualties. Was this a nightmare? If it was a nightmare, they hoped to wake up now. Chapter 1293. Oh no, the enemy is too strong. We are no match for him. Retreat, retreat quickly and return to Dragon God City. Let the great emperor take action. Run, break up and escape. Let the great emperor take action. The faces of the dragonoid kings were extremely ugly. They were unwilling to give up. But no matter how unwilling they were, The strength that Xia Ping had displayed was already at the level of an emperor. With just a roar, he had knocked out all the dragonoid people in the city. How powerful was that? It would be difficult for ordinary dragonoid warriors to stay conscious in front of this man. Even 100 dragonoid kings would not be able to stop him for a moment. Only the great emperor could stop this human. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The rest of the dragonoid kings fled quickly. Some used their unique magical powers to move a kilometer per second. Some teleported through the void. Some drilled directly into the ground. Some formed battle formations and enhanced each other's strength. They fled in groups, riding on the demonic wind. These dragonoid kings displayed their magical powers. They moved faster than when they came, as if they wished their parents had given them more legs. They exerted all their strength. Xia Ping strolled leisurely, and was not in a hurry to catch up. He only raised his hand and punched the dragonoid king beside him. Although they were separated by several kilometers, the fist force arrived in an instant. Boom! Immediately, there was a burst of explosion in midair. Immediately, the bodies of several dragonoid kings exploded with one punch, turning into minced meat and falling from the sky. With just 2 or 3 punches, more than a dozen dragonoid kings were easily killed. It was as easy as slaughtering chickens and dogs. And this scene made them even more frightened. They did not dare to stay where they were, for fear that Xia Ping would track them down and kill them all in Dragonhorn City. An hour later, the dragonoid kings of Dragonhorn City had quickly fled from the city and ran toward Dragon God City. But they were chased by Xia Ping all the way, and as a result, more than half of them were either dead or injured. Dragonhorn City was basically an empty city at this moment. As for those ordinary dragonoid who had been knocked out, they would not wake up without half a day's effort. At this time, Xia Ping came to the city lord's residence of Dragonhorn City, the center of wealth in this city. Since he had come to the enemy's base camp and chased them away, without even having the time to take away the treasures, how could he possibly return empty-handed after entering a treasure mountain? Because the draconian kings had fled en masse, the city lord's mansion no longer had any guards. The soldiers had all fainted on the ground, and Xia Ping's path was unimpeded. Plunder, plunder everything. Xia Ping went directly to the treasury of the city lord mansion. He punched open the metal door of the treasury and stepped inside. Immediately, he saw a dazzling array of treasures. It could only be said that Dragonhorn City was indeed one of the largest cities of the dragon human race. It had been incomparably prosperous for tens of thousands of years, and this also contributed to the fact that their wealth had accumulated to an astonishing degree. Gold, silver, and jewels piled up like a mountain. This was already a small matter, and was not worth much to a draconian king. More importantly, they plundered all kinds of precious cultivation resources from the Dragon God continent. Xia Ping saw more than 100 types of spirit herbs that came into view, and each of them emitted a dense medicinal aura that greatly boosted one's spirit and made one's entire body feel comfortable. Master, hurry up and plunder. You can plant these spirit herbs in the Pearl of Mountains and Rivers. I believe that with my careful cultivation, these spirit herbs will definitely multiply more. At this moment, the voice of the green ox, the spirit of the Pearl of Mountains and Rivers, sounded. It almost drooled when it saw the spirit herbs in the treasury. Of course, to the green ox, who was once a treasure of a saint, these spirit herbs were extremely inconspicuous. But it did not know how many years it had been since it had cultivated spirit herbs. And the Pearl of Mountains and Rivers had also been barren for a very long time. So it was eager to add a trace of vitality to the space of the Pearl of Mountains and Rivers. All right, Xia Ping waved his hand, and immediately stored all these spirit herbs into the space of the Pearl of Mountains and Rivers, leaving them to the green ox to take care of. There's spiritual liquid. As he went deeper into the treasury, Xia Ping's eyes suddenly lit up. He immediately saw a pool that looked like a small river, and there was a large amount of spiritual liquid in it, exuding a dense fragrance. This was the spiritual liquid from the dragon vein, which had been plundered by the dragon human race and placed in the treasury. He had once cultivated in the dragon vein, so he naturally knew how precious this spiritual liquid was. It had a significant effect on enhancing magic power, and was many times better than some pills. Whoosh! Without hesitation, he immediately emptied the entire small river of spiritual liquid and plundered all of it into the space of the Pearl of Mountains and Rivers. Anyway, the space of the Pearl of Mountains and Rivers was very large, so there was no need to worry about it being full. Xiaoping also found a lot of refining materials in the treasury. There were all kinds of precious metals from the Dragon God continent, such as meteoric iron, cold iron, fire ores, water ores, and so on. And these things were handed over to the golden slime to deal with, and it had a look of bliss on its face, as it worked hard to devour these metals. The door of the treasury was also eaten by it in 2 or 3 bites. If the dragon human kings knew that the precious ores that they had painstakingly collected and spent a lot of manpower and resources had been eaten by the golden slime, they would probably go crazy with anger. There are actually dragon crystals. Xiaoping continued to go deeper, and immediately found the existence of the dragon crystals in a small room that was full of restrictions. He carefully counted and found that there were at least 1,000 dragon crystals. These dragon crystals were piled up together, and dragon chi gathered, forming what seemed to be a small red dragon in midair. It soared through the clouds and emitted an incomparably majestic aura. Obviously, there was also a difference in the quality of dragon crystals. The dragon crystals placed in this room were obviously twice the quality of the dragon crystals that Xiaoping had obtained before, and the energy they contained was also incomparable. It was estimated that these dragon crystals were the real treasures and priceless. Take them all away. Xiaoping was very grateful for the wealth of these dragon people. If they were not so rich, how could he have had such a huge harvest today? It would not be an exaggeration to say that he had become rich overnight. Another 2 hours passed. At this time, the treasury had been completely emptied by Xiaoping, and it was even cleaner than his face. Even if the housekeeper cleaned, it would not be as clean as it was now. If City Lord Bardic were to resurrect and see his treasury in such a state, he might die of anger again. Okay, let's go to Dragon God City. Xiaoping clapped his hands, satisfied. After looting this place clean, the next step was to go to Dragon God City. And at this time, the dragon human kings who had fled from Dragon Horn City had already fled to Dragon God City. They were panic-stricken and quickly arrived to inform the dragon human emperor that an earth-shattering event had happened in Dragon Horn City. Dong dong dong. Immediately, the horn of war sounded throughout the entire Dragon God City. This was a war horn that had never appeared since the establishment of Dragon God City, which meant that there was an invasion of foreign enemies and danger was imminent. Chapter 1294. The mountain behind Dragon God City was a 10,000-meter tall mountain, surrounded by clouds and mist, making it look like a paradise on earth. On top of a cliff, there was an old man in a white robe sitting cross-legged. He held a black fishing rod in his hand and was fishing on the cliff. However, this black fishing rod had no hook or fishing line. It was just a rod. Not to mention the fact that this was a cliff with a bottomless abyss below. There was no prey at all. Moreover, he was only carrying a fishing rod, so even if prey appeared, how could he possibly catch it? However, the white-robed old man paid no attention to this. He closed his eyes and rested in a carefree and relaxed manner. The aura of his entire body had fused into one with nature, and he seemed like a stone statue that lay across this mountain peak, and didn't move in the slightest. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. At this moment, dozens of figures immediately appeared at the foot of the mountain peak. Each of them had the strength of a pinnacle king, and they were all dragon human kings. They were the elders of the dragon human race. At this moment, they had all appeared in front of the white-robed elderly man. Even in Dragon God City, these dragon men elders were important figures with great authority. They controlled hundreds of millions of soldiers and horses, and with a single order, they could annihilate an entire city. However, in front of this white-robed elderly man, they did not even dare to breathe loudly, for fear of disturbing him. This was because this elderly man was the emperor-level expert of the dragon human race, Great Emperor Gulan. Great Emperor Galan. A group of dragon-human kings came forward and greeted him respectfully. The white-robed elderly man, Great Emperor Galan, did not even turn his head and remained motionless as he held the black fishing rod in his hand. You all suddenly came to look for me. Did something big happen in Dragon God City? Yes, Great Emperor Galan, a dragon man elder said in a deep voice. Previously, there was a king-level human called Xiaoping. He single-handedly breached Dragonhorn City, killed hundreds of king-level warriors, and knocked out 1,000,000 elite dragonmen soldiers. His might was unparalleled. We guess that he has emperor-level combat strength, and he is now single-handedly attacking Dragon God City. He is very arrogant, and wants to flatten our Dragon God City. He gritted his teeth, his tone extremely resentful. Dragonhorn City had been breached by a mere human, and hundreds of dragon-human kings had died. The vast dragon-human race's territory had been let by a mere human, and he had even attacked Dragon God City. But they were powerless to stop it. This was a great humiliation, a stain on the history of the dragon-human race that could never be erased. He actually possesses the combat strength of an emperor-rank expert, while only at the king realm. You killed 100 dragonman kings, and destroyed Dragonhorn City. Hearing this, the white-robed elder Gran the Great opened his eyes slightly. This is ridiculous. Did he use some special method? That's not it. According to the information sent back by the dragon-human kings who fled, it was all his own strength, pure battle prowess, without any tricks. One of the draconian elders had a grim expression. Because of this, he felt that this matter was extremely troublesome. If the other party had emperor-level battle prowess, they would not be an opponent that they could withstand. Only by inviting a great emperor would they be able to contend against it. Then he has definitely stepped into the emperor realm a long time ago, and he isn't at the king realm at all. He's acting like a pig to eat a tiger. The white-robed elder's eyes gleamed. As long as an emperor-level expert wants to hide it, you won't be able to see through his martial arts realm. But I didn't expect the human race to have a fourth great emperor so quickly. The potential of this race is indeed astonishing, and they should be completely eradicated. On the Dragon God continent, only the dragon-human race is the true overlord. A terrifying murderous intent emanated from his body. Yes, Great Emperor Grand, so we are completely powerless to stop this human race demon. Only a great emperor can stop him and stop this human's atrocities, an elder hurriedly said. But that human strength is too terrifying. I think we should invite a few other great emperors to come out and kill this arrogant human in a thunderous manner. He carefully made his suggestion. Because Xiaoping's battle achievements were too terrifying, many Dragonman kings were scared out of their wits, and they did not have the courage to confront him at all. They hoped that a few great emperors would appear and kill this human great emperor. Do you think that I alone am no match for that human great emperor? The eyes of the white-robed elder Great Emperor Grand were like black holes that had the power to devour light. Anyone's soul that was targeted by him would not be able to escape. No, I didn't mean it like that. With a smack, the Dragonman elder knelt on the ground in fear, his entire body trembling. The power of an emperor-level expert was too terrifying. Just a wisp of his aura was enough to make him almost unable to get up. But he did have such a thought in his heart. After all, Great Emperor Grand was the 6th great emperor of the dragon-human race. And he only succeeded in becoming a great emperor because of the enlightenment of the other 5 great emperors. Therefore, in terms of strength, Great Emperor Grand was the weakest among the 6 great emperors. It was understandable that these Dragonman elders were a little lacking in confidence. Roar! At this moment, a roar suddenly sounded from the bottomless abyss. It contained an earth-shattering sound wave, and it shook dozens of Dragonman elders so much that they almost vomited blood. Such a sound wave could penetrate metal and crack rocks. They could not withstand it at all. Immediately, a huge ferocious bird flew out from the abyss. It had a pair of black wings that covered the sky, and it was over 100 meters long. Its entire body emitted a ferocious aura. All the Dragonman kings were shocked. This was because this ferocious bird was the famous blood-devouring demon bird of the Dragon God continent. It had the strength of a half-step great emperor, and it had once devoured an entire city of dragon men in a single bite. Not long ago, this was a monster that was like a natural disaster, and countless dragon men feared it. Haha, the prey is here. The white-robed elder, Great Emperor Grand, laughed out loud. He raised his hand, and all the magic in his body surged. His clothes fluttered even though there was no wind, and a thin white line extended from the fishing rod. It was as white as ice crystals, and it shone brightly. This thin white line emitted waves of cold air, causing the temperature within a radius of 1,000 meters to drop by dozens of degrees. The surrounding Dragon Man kings could not help but shiver. This was a chill that penetrated into their bones. The thin white line extended rapidly, and as if it was enveloped by cold air, it extended to the body of the blood-devouring demon bird at a speed visible to the naked eye. Dong! The white-robed elder, Great Emperor Grand, waved his fishing rod lightly, and the thin white line pierced through the blood-devouring demon bird's body like a spear. The latter let out a shrill cry, and blood splattered everywhere. However, the blood-devouring demon bird did not cry for long. When the thin white line penetrated its body, a terrifying cold power spread rapidly. In a few breaths' time, the blood-devouring demon bird had turned into a lifelike ice sculpture. Boom! Chapter 1295. The dragonmen elders were dumbfounded and in disbelief. The closer they looked at the blood-eater demon bird, the more they could feel its terrifying aura. Moreover, the sharp claws on his body, the steel-like feathers, and the indestructible beak were all supreme weapons that could easily kill a draconian king. In the past, countless dragonman kings had become food for the blood-eater demon bird, unable to struggle. But such a ferocious bird was subdued by Great Emperor Grand in a single move, instantly turning into an ice sculpture. It couldn't even escape. Without a doubt, this was the might of a great emperor. Many dragonmen elders were trembling, feeling even more respect for Great Emperor Grand. This was the respect one had for an expert. A newly ascended Great Emperor, and one who has been in the Great Emperor realm for a long time, are two completely different things. Great Emperor Grand laughed out coldly. What does a mere newly ascended motherfucking human king amount to? To think that he would dare to come to the Dragon God City and cause a ruckus. He really doesn't know his place. Where is that motherfucking human king? I'll go and kill him right now. With a swoosh, he stood up from where he was, emitting a terrifying aura that instantly enveloped the entire mountain peak. He was like a peerless sword saint unsheathing his sword, or an ancient demonic ape coming out of the mountains. With his body as the center, all the beasts within 1,000-mile radius were trembling in fear, and the ground was shaking. Yes, Great Emperor Grand. The dragonmen elders were extremely excited after witnessing Great Emperor Grand's terrifying strength. He killed the blood-eater demon bird so easily. So what if that human was an emperor-level expert? How could he be a match for their great emperor? With Great Emperor Grand taking action, that human Xia Ping could only swallow his grievances. Of course, if the other 5 great emperors were to take action, things would be even more foolproof. Unfortunately, the other 5 great emperors were cultivating in seclusion in the depths of Dragon God City, carefully comprehending the martial way. If not for the danger of extinction, no one would dare to let the 5 of them out. Therefore, they could only ask this newly ascended great emperor to take action. Several hours later, outside Dragon God City, Xia Ping searched for treasures everywhere in Dragonhorn City, and after he had eaten and drank to his heart's content, recovering his magic power and replenishing his spirit, he finally leisurely made his way to Dragon God City. At this moment, the Dragon God had already received the news. Countless Dragonmen elite soldiers were mobilized, ready for battle. Even thousands of Dragonmen kings appeared, surging with murderous intent. An army had already been set up in an area more than 10 kilometers away from Dragon God City. Countless dragonfolk soldiers were clad in shoulder armor and wielding spears. They wanted to drive this great enemy out of the city gates. After all, this was an emperor-level expert. If he really caused trouble in Dragon God City, the entire Dragon God City would probably be reduced to rubble by him, resulting in countless casualties. Of course, what caught Xiaoping's attention the most was still the white-robed elder. The aura that the elder exuded was as deep as the abyss, unfathomable. And his aura was one with the world. It was as if his every move could invoke the power of the heavens. Without a doubt, this was a treasure refinement realm cultivator who had the ability to control the power of heaven and earth. He was also a monarch realm cultivator of this world. Damned humans, to think they actually dared to come to Dragon God City. You're too arrogant. What do you think our holy city is? Do you think you can come and go as you please? Don't go back if you dare to come. That's right. It's really exciting to see a great emperor fall. Many dragonfolk soldiers were surging with murderous intent. Their aura was magnificent, and they were not afraid at all. With great Emperor Grand by their side, they were not afraid of a great emperor of the human race, coming here to cause trouble. Moreover, to them, the human race was just a race of slaves who were only fit to be their laborers. How could a mere human be worthy of their attention? Human! A dragonfolk elder stood on the city gates and immediately yelled, "Quickly surrender. If you dare to resist, I'll immediately cut you down with knives and axes, and you'll die a terrible death. Watch out, that human is moving." Suddenly, the pupils of many dragonfolk elders constricted. They saw that Xiaoping did not seem to hear what they said. In fact, he did not even care about the kings and millions of elite soldiers, as he walked over step by step. Dong dong dong. But as Xiaoping walked over, every step he took was like the roar of a war drum. The sound seemed to hit their hearts, causing their blood to tremble. Not good. A dragonfolk elder seemed to have sensed something, and his expression changed drastically. He immediately yelled, "Retreat, retreat. Soldiers with weak consciousness, retreat immediately. This is not a place for you." He could feel an extremely terrifying spiritual wave erupting from Xiaoping. It condensed into a substance and spread rapidly like a tidal wave. Against such a divine sense attack, ordinary dragonfolk soldiers could not withstand it at all. This was because it was an attack on the spiritual level. It did not matter how strong their bodies were. If they could withstand it, they would be fine. If they couldn't, they would die. This was the horror of a confrontation of divine senses. "It's too late," the white-robed elder, Great Emperor Grand, said indifferently. His eyes gleamed coldly. The dragonfolk soldiers with weak consciousnesses did not know what was happening at all. They only felt a buzzing sound in their heads. In the next second, they lost consciousness as if their souls had been hit by a hammer. Bang, bang, bang. One by one, they fell to the ground with their eyes rolling back and white foam coming out of their mouths. Clearly, they were already unconscious. It was impossible for them to regain consciousness without half a day. How is this possible? The expressions of many dragonfolk elders were extremely ugly. Looking over, a large portion of the originally majestic dragonfolk army had already fallen. Only a few could stand up. This spiritual wave even seeped into Dragon God City. Many Dragon God City residents were chatting in restaurants, strolling on the streets, doing business and reading books. However, no matter what they were doing, they were all hit and knocked unconscious on the ground. In the face of this divine sense attack, everyone except the king-level dragonfolk had fainted. Is such a terrifying divine sense power really something a human can possess? Many dragonfolk kings were trembling. When such a divine sense enveloped down, it was like a spiritual storm that destroyed everything in the city, attacking indiscriminately. Even the king-level dragonfolk like them felt great pressure. If they did not hold on with all their might, they would probably follow in the footsteps of the other dragonfolk. If their willpower was slightly weaker, they would not be able to remain conscious in front of this man. "Human, you've gone too far." At this moment, the white-robed elder, Great Emperor Grand, spoke. His voice also contained a unique spiritual wave. Like a gentle breeze, it offset the divine sense power that Xiaoping sent out. Immediately, many dragonfolk kings felt much more relaxed. They did not have to bear too much pressure. "Dragonfolk Great Emperor? How rude of me. It's my first time in the enemy's city. It's etiquette to intimidate them a little." Xiaoping stood with his hands behind his back, looking at the many dragonfolk. Chapter 1296. slightly intimidating. The Dragonoid kings were infuriated when they heard this. Was this just slightly intimidating? More than half of the Dragonoid kings were knocked unconscious, and 99% of the Dragonoid army was crippled. Even many of the residents of Dragon God City were knocked unconscious. Some of the weaker Dragonoid soldiers even had their souls destroyed and died on the spot. How was this just slightly intimidating? This bastard was clearly trying to intimidate the Dragonoid kings. He was warning them not to use the human wave tactic, and that they would only be courting death no matter how many ants they sent. However, they had to admit that this was very effective and had completely stunned the ordinary Dragonoid kings. No matter how many ordinary Dragonoid kings attacked together, they would not be a match for a great emperor. Humph, slightly intimidating. Great Emperor Grand sneered. Tell me, an expert like you would not come to Dragon God City to die for no reason. What exactly do you want to do here? He was very confused about Xiaoping's purpose in coming to Dragon God City. Everyone knew that there were 6 great emperors in Dragon God City, and countless restrictions. Even if the 3 great emperors of the human race entered this place, they would be courting death. However, this human knew this and still came here alone. If he didn't have any ulterior motives, he wouldn't believe it. I heard that there is a forbidden ground in the depths of Dragon God City called the Forbidden Ground of the Divine Dragon. I am very curious about this place, and would like to go in and take a look. Xiaoping directly stated his purpose. How dare you? How dare you, human? Human, you are courting death. The expressions of the Dragonoid elders changed drastically when they heard Xiaoping's words. The Forbidden Ground of the Divine Dragon was the most important secret place of the Dragonoid kings, and was countless times more important than Dragon God City. This place was the origin and true foundation of the Dragonoid kings. No one was allowed to enter. Even the Dragonoid elders had to make great contributions to be allowed to go near. A mere human actually wanted to enter the Forbidden Ground of the Divine Dragon and covet the inheritance of the Dragon God. This was practically digging at the roots of the Dragonoid kings. How could they tolerate this? Great Emperor Grand's pupils constricted. He did not expect Xiaoping's goal to be the Forbidden Ground of the Divine Dragon. He was truly audacious to enter the most important secret place of the Dragonoid kings. If you are willing to let me enter the Forbidden Ground of the Divine Dragon, I can leave now. Xiaoping stated his conditions. Dream on. Don't even think about it. You actually want to enter the Forbidden Grounds of the Dragon God? Is this something a little human like you can dream of? Who do you think you are? How dare you touch something that belongs to the Dragon God? Many of the Dragon human elders immediately refused. This was the supreme secret of the Dragon human race, and it was impossible for a human to enter. Even allowing a human to approach, it would be blasphemy to the Dragon God. Did he refuse? No matter. I have already expected this. As long as we flatten Dragon God City, we should be able to enter. Xiaoping smiled as he looked at the many dragon human kings. You want to flatten my Dragon God City? You must be out of your mind. My Dragon God City has 6 great emperor-level experts. How are you going to flatten it? A dragon human king was so angry that he started laughing. 6 emperors? Anyone who dares to block it will die. Xiaoping's tone was indifferent, as if he was talking about something that couldn't be more ordinary. Arrogant to the extreme. You want to kill the 6 emperor-level experts of the dragon human race? Dream on. Have you lost your mind? Do you know what you are capable of? There is no need for the great emperors to do anything. All of us kings can kill you dozens of times if we join forces. Many of the dragon human kings were so angry that smoke was coming out of their nostrils. Even though they knew that this human was extremely arrogant, they didn't expect him to be this arrogant. This fellow actually wanted to flatten Dragon God City and kill the 6 great emperor-level experts of the dragon human race by himself. How much did this bastard underestimate the dragon human race before he would let this matter rest? Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The hot-tempered dragon human kings were furious. They couldn't stand this arrogant human for even a second, and they all rushed out of Dragon God City. Suddenly, hundreds of dragon human kings attacked at the same time. They filled the sky and formed a huge battle formation, as if they wanted to kill Xiaoping instantly. The white-robed elder, Great Emperor Grand, didn't move. His eyes were indifferent as he continued to stand on the city walls. If Yi Qingyu couldn't even defeat hundreds of dragon human kings, there was no need for him to take action. Get down! Xiaoping stood with his hands behind his back, and still didn't move a single step. He looked indifferently at the dragon human kings who were charging at him, and immediately activated the star guiding technique. Remarkable ability, boundless gravity. Rumble. In an instant, a terrifying force field appeared with his body as the center. It covered a radius of 1,000 kilometers, and instantly produced a gravitational force that was hundreds, or even thousands of times stronger than normal. Oh no! The dragon human kings, who were originally aggressive and wanted to attack, suddenly turned pale. They felt as if they were suddenly carrying a mountain on their backs, and every cell in their body was being crushed by gravity. As cultivators of the divine realm, they could use their magic power to counteract gravity and fly off the ground. However, the sudden increase in gravity immediately disrupted the circulation of their magic power, and it was as if they were birds whose wings had been cut off. Bang! 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 Immediately, they fell from the sky and created hundreds of deep craters in an instant. There was a loud rumble, and huge cracks appeared on the ground. Damn it! The dragon human kings howled at the sky in grief and indignation. They wanted to struggle with all their might, but as they struggled, the gravity gradually increased. As time passed, it wasn't just one mountain that was pressing down on them, but dozens of mountains. Under such terrifying gravity, ordinary rocks were instantly crushed into powder. If not for the fact that they were dragon human kings and had strong bodies, their blood vessels would have burst, and their organs would have been crushed to death. Arrogant? Do you know what arrogance is? Xiaoping looked down at the dragon human kings calmly. Doing things that are beyond your abilities is arrogance. That's what you're doing now. And you want to kill me? Are you qualified? Get down on the ground and feel your powerlessness. Dragon people are nothing more than this. His tone was calm, as if he was talking about something that couldn't be more normal. The dragon human kings were furious. Xiaoping's words almost made their lungs explode. He was just a slave-like human, yet he dared to look down on them like that. However, no matter how angry they were or how unwilling they were, it was useless before absolute power. They were also pressed to the ground like dogs, unable to move. Their hearts were filled with incomparable torment, and they felt great humiliation. Chapter 1297. Human, this is not a place for you to behave atrociously. Suddenly, Great Emperor Grand, who had been watching the show from the top of the city walls, could not stand it anymore. If this continued, the dragon men would suffer heavy losses, and many of them would be killed by Xiaoping. Swoosh! Great Emperor Grand instantly closed the distance of more than 10 kilometers, and punched through the air. This punch was extremely terrifying. It seemed to have mobilized the power of ice in the world, and condensed it into a fist of ice and snow. Everywhere it passed, the ground turned into ice, and the area was frozen for more than 10 kilometers. The dragonmen kings on the city walls could not help but shiver. This chill was so cold that it seemed to have seeped into their bones. Even though Great Emperor Grand was not targeting them, the chill that he exuded was still not something they could withstand. The huge city walls seemed to have been frozen by this chill, and turned into ice walls. This was a punch that mobilized the power of heaven and earth, and was many times more powerful than the attack of a divine realm cultivator. Xiaoping stood where he was, and immediately felt an overwhelming pressure. It was as if the entire world had become his enemy, and all the power was repelling him. Kunpeng steps. In an instant, Xiaoping used the divine movement technique, and transformed into a Kunpeng. He instantly teleported away from where he was, and only left behind an afterimage. Boom! The punch immediately smashed into the ground, where Xiaoping was standing, and immediately created a pit that was 5 to 6 kilometers deep. Several tons of soil flew out. A terrifying chill spread out and instantly froze the soil, turning it into a small iceberg. I see. Great Emperor Grand stood in midair, and his eyes were cold. You do not know how to mobilize the power of heaven and earth. It seems that you are really only at the king realm, and not the emperor realm. When he discovered this fact, even though he had advanced to the emperor realm, and his mind was as calm as the surface of a lake, he could not help but be shocked by this fact. He was only at the king realm, but he had the combat strength to rival an emperor realm cultivator. This was simply too monstrous. In the history of the Dragon Men, there had never been such a person. What? Many of the Dragon Men kings were also shocked. Although they had already guessed it, they were still shocked speechless when Great Emperor Grand said it out loud. There had never been such a monster, who could rival an emperor realm cultivator at the king realm. It is enough to kill you. Xiaoping looked indifferently at Great Emperor Grand. Humph, arrogant. Great Emperor Grand sneered. I admit that you have some ability. You're only a king, but you're able to display the battle prowess of an emperor. Such talent has never been seen before. But if you don't advance to the emperor realm, you won't know the terror of the emperor realm. So what if you're a monstrous genius? You want to defeat an emperor realm expert? That's simply wishful thinking. This old man will let you have a taste of the difference in strength. The magical ability of the dragon human race, Dragon Song Snow. As the sound of his voice faded, Grand Emperor Jellin acted without hesitation. His hands folded into a series of seals, as a terrifying energy gushed forth from his body, drawing upon the coldness of the heavens and earth. Rumble, countless streams of cold air gathered together, forming a huge cloud. Vaguely, this huge cloud seemed to transform into a giant dragon soaring in the void. The dragon raised its head to the sky and let out a loud roar, which condensed into waves of unique sound waves. Following that, cold air condensed and huge snowflakes fell from the sky. In the span of a few breaths, the area within a radius of dozens of kilometers seemed to have turned into a world of ice and snow. More than 10 centimeters of snow piled up on the ground, and the temperature dropped to -20 to 30 degrees. So powerful. Is this the power of an emperor realm expert? Many of the dragon human kings were shocked. Only now did they truly understand the power of an emperor realm expert. They could change the weather and control the power of the heavens and earth with a single thought. It was supposed to be a hot summer, but under the power of an emperor realm expert, it instantly turned into winter. It was as if the entire world had been frozen, and it was a terrifying mess. Kill. Grand Emperor Jellin punched out and countless snowflakes gathered together, quickly forming a snow dragon. It had horns, scales, a dragon's tail, a dragon's head and dragon's claws. It was extremely lifelike. Roar. The snow dragon roared and charged toward Xiaoping with the power of the heavens and earth. Its claws stretched out, and even a mountain would be smashed to pieces. A cold light flashed in Xiaoping's eyes. There seemed to be stars spinning in the depths of his pupils. He operated the star guiding art, and immediately activated the star body. Every acupoint on his body seemed to have a star living in it. Endless power of the stars flowed between the veins in his body, shining brightly. Star guiding art, Star Fist. He stood where he was, and the terrifying power of the stars in his body gathered on his right fist. It was surrounded by azure light, as if the power of a star lived in the depths of his fist. Boom! The azure fist collided with the snow dragon. It was like a battle between a star and a dragon. Immediately, an earth-shattering explosion erupted. The air trembled for thousands of times, and a deep pit with a diameter of more than 10 kilometers appeared on the ground. This shockwave swept out and condensed into a solid form, immediately affecting the many dragon human kings on the city wall. Instantly, some dragon human kings were caught off guard and were swept by the shockwave. Their bodies were sent flying, coughing up blood in midair, as they were sent flying 5 to 6 kilometers away. Their bodies smashed through more than 10 walls and more than 10 houses before finally coming to a stop. Their bodies were also covered with a large amount of rubble. With a puff, they could not help but spit out a mouthful of blood. Obviously, they had been seriously injured. Many dragon human kings were shocked. This was a battle between emperor-level experts. Even though they were king-level experts, in a battle between experts of this level, Just the shockwave alone could seriously injure them. Some dragon-human kings who had run back from Dragonhorn City were even more grateful. Fortunately, they had run fast. Otherwise, if Xia Ping really went berserk, none of them would have survived. This is emperor-level power? It doesn't look like much. Xia Ping provoked. Sure enough, Great Emperor Grand was easily angered. He sneered. You are indeed amazing, using your king body to resist emperor-level power. But you can only resist one punch. How many punches can you resist? 100 punches, or 1,000 punches? After advancing to the emperor level, you can use and manipulate the power of heaven and earth. The density of your magical power is not something a king can imagine. When your magical power is exhausted, you will be a fish on the chopping board, waiting to be slaughtered. If you don't become an emperor-level expert, you will never know how terrifying an emperor-level expert is. It will be easy to crush you to death. He intended to exhaust Xia Ping's magical power with the momentum of a thunderbolt. Dragon human race's magical power, 1,000 Dragon Fist. Chapter 1298. Dong Dong Dong. In an instant, Great Emperor Grand made his move, throwing out a flurry of punches. In just a second, he had punched out over 1,000 times. Every punch was a dragon fist condensed from the power of ice. The fists were like ice dragons that had reappeared in the mortal world. They were vivid and lifelike as they roared at the sky. In the depths of their cores were divine ability talismans that drew upon the power of ice between heaven and earth. Suddenly, over 1,000 ice dragons charged toward Xia Ping. Terrifying cold air filled the surrounding space, as if the surrounding 1,000 miles had turned into a world of ice and snow. So powerful, many dragon-human kings were shocked. The dragon-human race's 1,000 Dragon Fist was one of their most powerful divine abilities. Once it was used, it would be like 1,000 dragons attacking a city. With one strike, it could destroy a city with billions of people, and its power was even more terrifying than a nuclear bomb. Not to mention the fact that the one who unleashed this martial arts technique was Grand the Great, an emperor-level powerhouse who could manipulate the power of heaven and earth. The power that he unleashed was incomparable. If they were in his shoes and faced the attack of this martial art, they probably wouldn't even be able to resist for a second, before they would be instantly blasted into smithereens and cease to exist. Not bad. Xia Ping's brows twitched. He could also feel the immense pressure coming from the Grand Emperor. As expected of a treasure refinement realm cultivator, even if he was just a native of the Dragon God continent who had never lived in the universe. But with the Dragon Man bloodline, he was still much more powerful than the average cultivator of the treasure refinement realm. However, if that wasn't the case, the other party would be too weak, and that would be meaningless. Xia Ping took a step forward and immediately circulated the star-attracting art. The power of his astral constitution burst out, and the 360 acupoints on his body seemed to glow with starlight. Every pore on his body corresponded to the countless stars in the sky, resonating with each other, as if he could borrow the great power of the stars in the sky. This was the terrifying aspect of the star physique. Even without stepping into the artifact refining realm, one could still resonate with the stars in the universe and temporarily borrow the endless star energy. Immediately, the sky seemed to turn into a dark world, and then a myriad world star chart quickly appeared. One star after another rotated in the void, filled with chaotic air currents. It was as if they were huge stars that had existed since ancient times, containing an ancient power. Star guiding art, falling stars. Xia Ping stretched out his hand. With a light pat, he guided countless stars in the depths of the void. Just like that, the stars fell from the void, tearing through the air and bringing with them sparks. They came crashing down at a speed that exceeded 100 times the speed of sound. My God, what kind of power is this? Many of the Dragonoid kings were stunned, and their eyeballs almost popped out of their sockets. They saw thousands of stars falling from the outer domain, smashing toward Dragon God City. Furthermore, every single star was like a towering mountain, containing a force of hundreds of millions of tons. When such a star fell, the power it would unleash was simply unimaginable. Not to mention the fact that there were over 1,000 of such stars crashing down. The power unleashed in an instant would be enough to destroy Dragon God City dozens of times over. This was a power that could destroy the world. Bang bang bang. The star crashed into the ground and collided with the ice dragons, and a destructive energy exploded out, creating a powerful shockwave that spread out in all directions. Kacha, Kacha. The city walls of Dragon God City, which were extremely sturdy and reputed to be indestructible for 10,000 years, were now cracked open, as if they were about to collapse at any moment. Retreat, retreat quickly. We can't get involved in a battle between Emperor-level experts, or we'll die without a doubt. Retreat 5 kilometers. Retreat 5 kilometers immediately. The Dragonoid kings were scared half to death. As for those below the Dragonoid king level, they didn't dare to stay where they were, and quickly retreated several kilometers, entering the depths of Dragon God City. They immediately activated the restrictive formation of Dragon God City, and a huge golden energy barrier appeared, enveloping the entire city like an eggshell. These shockwaves bombarded the restrictive formation of Dragon God City, but they were all neutralized, unable to harm the internal buildings of Dragon God City. Otherwise, just these shockwaves alone would have caused heavy casualties in Dragon God City. The ice dragons couldn't withstand the power of the falling stars either, and they exploded one after another, being smashed into smithereens. The huge stars also fell, smashing into the ground. With a boom, thousands of deep craters appeared on the ground, and the ground was tattered, looking like the surface of the moon. Pfft! Even Great Emperor Grand couldn't withstand such an impact, and his lungs were injured in an instant, causing him to vomit blood from the severe injuries. He was also extremely shocked, not expecting Xia Ping to have such a terrifying mystique. He had seen countless martial mystiques of the human race, but he had never seen such a star mystique. It seemed to point directly to the Great Tao, and it was unfathomable, as vast as the starry sky. At this moment, his heart was filled with endless doubts, and he was very suspicious of Xia Ping's origins. Die! But before he could think of anything, Xia Ping used the Kunpeng steps, teleported over, and threw a punch at Great Emperor Grand that contained boundless starlight. This punch seemed to be holding a planet in his hand, and when it smashed over, the power hidden in it was extremely terrifying, as though it was going to shatter the ground. Not good. Great Emperor Grand's expression changed, and he wanted to dodge. But Xia Ping's speed was too fast, and the Kunpeng steps teleported over 10 kilometers in an instant, appearing right beside him. By the time he reacted, the punch had already landed on his abdomen. Great Emperor Grand's body bent like a cooked prawn, and his entire body flew out like a cannonball. Dong! 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 His body smashed through 3 of Dragon God City's massive and thick city walls in quick succession. In fact, he even punctured a large hole in Dragon God City's restrictive formations. He slid across the ground for over 10 kilometers before coming to a stop. He had forcefully carved out a road that was more than 10 kilometers long, and there were signs of destruction everywhere. Impossible! The dragon human kings were all extremely shocked, and their faces turned pale. To them, a great emperor was a supreme and invincible existence, comparable to a human-shaped nuclear bomb. He had the power to turn the world upside down, and it was impossible for him to be defeated. But the current situation was far beyond their imagination. Such a powerful great emperor expert, the guardian of the dragon human race, an expert who could single-handedly destroy an entire country, was sent flying by a mere human, unable to resist at all, and coughed up blood on the spot. How could they accept such a thing? If even a great emperor was unable to defeat this human, then how could the dragon human race stop him? Would Dragon God City be destroyed by this human from now on, and become the shame of the dragon human race for tens of thousands of years? Chapter 1299. Whoosh! Great Emperor Gulan's figure flashed and immediately flew out of the rubble, once again arriving outside the city. His face was extremely gloomy as he stared at Xia Ping. No one could imagine how angry he was at this moment. If eyes could kill, Xia Ping would have been killed dozens of times. It was absolutely humiliating to be beaten to such a state by a human at the king realm in front of so many people. Great Emperor Galan. Xiaoping stood with his hands behind his back. I heard that your emperor-level cultivation base was imbued with wisdom? You can't advance without the help of the other great emperors? No wonder you are so weak. You should call the other great emperors out. Maybe they can wrestle with me. Otherwise, they will just be throwing their lives away. He was deliberately provoking him. Human. Great Emperor Galan almost went crazy when he heard this, because Xiaoping's words simply stabbed at the sore spot in his heart. Although he was also an emperor-level expert, his treatment was obviously different from the other 5 great emperors. It was not only because he was the youngest great emperor, but most importantly, he had taken a shortcut to advance, unlike the other 5 great emperors who had to work hard to advance. Therefore, he had always wanted to use his achievements to prove himself. Even if he took a shortcut, his combat strength as an emperor-level expert would not lose to anyone. However, he did not expect that he would lose so badly against a human at the king realm. Wouldn't this really prove that he was a fake great emperor? Many Dragon Man kings could not help but suspect that Great Emperor Galan was really a fake great emperor. That was why he had fought with a mere king realm human to such an extent. If it was a real Dragon Man great emperor, he would definitely be able to kill his opponent easily. Alas, fake great emperors were fake great emperors. It was really not good to spoil things through excessive enthusiasm. The Dragon Man kings sighed inwardly, but they did not dare to say this out loud. After all, if Great Emperor Galan heard this, they would definitely be in deep trouble. I'm going to kill you. Great Emperor Galan was furious. Cold air gushed out from his body. In an instant, he turned into an ice dragon, filled with terrifying cold air, as if he was going to freeze the space. I said you are not qualified at all. Xiaoping punched out. He operated the star attraction art, communicated with the power of the stars, and punched out again. The punch broke through the sound barrier 100 times faster than the speed of sound. Like a falling star, it contained the power of billions of tons. It smashed onto Gran's body and exploded in an instant. Dong! The punch that contained the power of the stars had a terrifying penetrative force. It instantly pierced through Gran's defenses and smashed him into the ground, creating a huge crater. With a puff, Gran spat out another mouthful of blood. This punch had severely injured his lungs. Although the power of an emperor-level powerhouse made his vitality extremely tenacious, this punch did not take his life, but it still made him lose more than 70% of his strength. Die! Xiaoping was unforgiving. He walked through the void and descended from the sky like a meteor. He wanted to crush Grand with a single stomp, thoroughly killing this Dragon Grand Emperor. Not good. Great Emperor Grand's expression changed drastically. He could feel a deadly sense of danger enveloping his entire body. Ever since he became a great emperor, he thought that he was invincible. There was no other way for him to die except from old age. But today he truly felt the moment of death. If he was stomped by Xiaoping, even though he was an emperor-level powerhouse, he would still be stomped to death, leaving nothing behind. It's over, it's all over now. The other dragon human kings were also frightened when they saw this scene. Even though Grand was a fake, he was still an emperor-level powerhouse, and his strength far exceeded that of a king. If he were to die here today, the dragon human race would lose a great emperor-level expert. To the dragon human race, this was an unbearable loss. Stop! Suddenly, a loud roar came from Dragon God City. It sounded like a thunderclap from the ninth heaven, or a nuclear explosion. The sound waves rolled, and the roar of a heavenly dragon spread for 100 miles, stacking layer by layer. This roar had the power to change heaven and earth, and it had the power to shatter mountains. These sound waves transformed into swords and sabers, attacking Xiaoping like hundreds of millions of soldiers and horses. Xiaoping narrowed his eyes. He felt 4 terrifying auras immediately emerge from the depths of Dragon God City. Evidently, they saw that Great Emperor Grand was about to be stomped to death by him, and the situation was critical. It was the 10 dragon human emperors who were cultivating in seclusion. They could no longer sit back and watch. So they chose to take action to stop Xiaoping from killing the great emperor of the dragon human race. No matter what, they would not watch the sixth great emperor of the dragon human race die tragically in Dragon God City. Great, the four great emperors have taken action. The dragon human kings were overjoyed. They believed that with the help of the four dragon human emperors, no matter how powerful this human was, he could only die in Dragon God City. Want to stop me? This little power is not enough. Xiaoping sneered. These four dragon human emperors thought that they could stop him from killing Great Emperor Grand by sitting in the depths of Dragon God City and relying on a loud roar. They were dreaming. In the face of this sound wave attack, he did not move. He operated the Northern Dark Body Protection technique, and a Kuan Peng appeared on his body. Countless runes flowed, forming an oval space barrier. Bang! 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 These swords struck Xiaoping, but it was as if they were bombarding an iron wall. Clanging sounds rang out and dazzling sparks burst out, but they could not hurt Xiaoping in the slightest. They could not even shake the barrier. What? The four dragon human emperors in the depths of Dragon God City exclaimed in surprise. They did not expect that the long-distance attack of four great emperors could not even make Xiaoping retreat half a step. Die! A cold light flashed in Xiaoping's eyes. He descended from the sky, crushing down like a meteorite, and nothing could stop him. Bastard human, stop at once! How dare you? You killed the dragon human emperor. No matter who you are the enemy of the dragon human race, and we will not rest until you are dead. Hurry up and stop. Are you trying to cause a great disaster? Four angry voices roared, containing extreme anger, a kind of anger, and a kind of anger. They could not stand a little human looking down on the dragon human race. You cowardly scoundrels! Xiaoping sneered, completely ignoring the threat of these dragon human emperors, and stomped down. No! Great Emperor Grand screamed, like an old hen that had been grabbed by the neck, endless fear in his eyes. But it was useless. This stomp was like a falling star, and also like the impact of a meteorite. Boom! With a single strike, Great Emperor Grand's body was blasted into pieces, and his head was directly crushed, turning into a pile of meat paste. A deep pit with a diameter of 10 kilometers immediately appeared on the ground, and soil flew everywhere, and smoke and dust rose. Chapter 1300. No way, Great Emperor Grand is dead. The Dragonians could not help but gasp when they saw this scene. Their pupils constricted, and they could not help but reveal a look of shock. Even though they had experienced countless things, they had never seen a great emperor die in front of them. Ever since the emergence of emperor-level experts in the Dragon God continent, they had rarely died. After all, even an emperor-level expert would find it extremely difficult to kill an expert of the same level. It was easy to defeat, but difficult to kill. If an emperor-level expert wanted to escape, who could kill him? But now Great Emperor Grand was dead. He was stomped by a human and died on the spot. This fact greatly shocked the Dragonians present. How could this be? The Dragonian elders were trembling. They could not imagine how much of an uproar it would cause if the news of a great emperor being killed by a human were to spread. This matter might even shake the foundation of the Dragonians' rule in the Dragon God continent. Human, you are courting death. Bastard, no one in the world can save you. The Dragonians are irreconcilable enemies with you. In an instant, four terrifying auras erupted from the depths of Dragon God City and shot into the sky. They flew out and quickly arrived at the city gates of Dragon God City. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The ones who appeared in front of the Dragonians were the other four great emperors of the Dragonian race. They had all appeared in front of Xiaoping. At this moment they were all enraged. Their eyes were bloodshot, and their bodies exuded a terrifying aura. They were like majestic mountains that could not be shaken. They wanted nothing more than to get rid of this human who had killed Great Emperor Grand in front of them. The great emperors have made their move. The Dragonian elders were overjoyed. The four dragon great emperors who had been cultivating in seclusion had finally come out. They believed that with the four dragon great emperors here, Xiaoping would definitely not be able to continue his arrogance. The 4 dragon great emperors were the stabilizing force of the Dragonian race. With them here, the matter would be settled. Are you here to court death again? Xia Ping raised his brows and looked at the 4 dragon great emperors. Go to hell. One of the dragon grand martial emperors was enraged. He didn't waste any time with words and stabbed out with his purple spear. This spear strike was extremely terrifying. It controlled the power of thunder and lightning in the world. It was as if a huge thunder array had appeared in the void, communicating with the power of thunder and lightning in the world. Dong! A bolt of purple lightning turned into a lightning dragon that roared and continuously spun. It contained the power to pierce through space as it charged towards Xia Ping with incredible speed. Die! The other dragon Grand Emperor also attacked. He had no intention of showing mercy to this human murderer, who killed Grand Emperor Grand, nor did he have any interest in talking about morality. Only by using the might of a thunderbolt to completely annihilate this human, would he be able to vent the anger in his heart. He held the long sword in his hand, and manipulated the power of the wind. It was as if the heaven and earth formation, in the depths of his body, had resonated with the wind. He had become the ruler of the wind, and all the air currents were under his control. Xiao xiao xiao. As he brandished his sword chi surged and condensed into streams of sharp blades. They were so sharp that even diamonds could be easily sliced into countless pieces. The number of these wind blades was astonishing. Tens of thousands of them quickly covered Xia Ping's body. The 2 great emperor experts attacked at the same time, and the power that erupted was far more than that of Grand Emperor. Moreover, they were extremely fast, so fast that the dragon human king could not see them clearly. In just an instant, the attacks of the 2 great emperors arrived at Xia Ping's side. Dark North Body Protection Technique. Xia Ping's eyes revealed a glimmer of coldness. Although the speed of the 2 great emperor experts was very fast, his divine sense was too strong and extremely sensitive to attacks, so he reacted in an instant. A layer of space barrier immediately appeared on his body, like the patterns on the shell of an ancient divine turtle. It contained countless runes flowing like water. Bang! 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 The power of thunder and lightning, and the power of the wind blades directly attacked this space barrier, clanging sounds and bursting into dazzling sparks. It was as if it had been hit countless times by meteorites. The power was amazing, but even if these 2 forces were extremely powerful, they could not break through the defense of Dark North Body Protection Technique. The space barrier-like protective cover was undamaged. How could this be? The 2 great emperors were aghast. Although they had repeatedly overestimated Xia Ping's strength, they did not expect that their attacks with all their strength could not break through his defense. This damned monster! The faces of many Dragon Man elders turned green, and their bodies were trembling. Even 2 great dragon human emperors couldn't kill this human. How monstrous would this human be before he would give up? I don't believe that I can't break your tortoise shell. Go to hell. The 3rd dragon human emperor made his move. He snorted coldly. Martial arts magical ability, landslide. Suddenly, a huge formation of heaven and earth appeared in the void. The lines were densely packed, outlining the void, and the earth element of heaven and earth quickly gathered together. Crash! Immediately, a large amount of soil and rocks fell from the sky, like a natural disaster, drowning everything. Especially the large number of rocks that rolled down, the surface of which contained mysterious rune formations, were incomparably hard and indestructible. Even a cultivator of the Great Emperor realm would be seriously injured by this move. Kill. Dragon human race magical ability, Dragon Flame Spear. The 4th dragon human emperor also made his move. He had mastered a fire magical ability, and his whole body emitted scarlet flames, as if a fire dragon had come to life. He punched out. Swish! Endless scarlet flames gathered together and quickly condensed into a long flame spear, which was then hurled at Xia Ping. This was an earth-shattering spear that could destroy everything. The surrounding Dragon Man kings widened their eyes in shock, because this flame was the famous dragon fire of the Dragon Man race, known as the inextinguishable flame. If the enemy was hit by this dragon flame spear, their chests would definitely be pierced. Even if the chest was not pierced, if the enemy's body was touched by the dragon fire, they would be burned to ashes. This was a sure kill move. Not bad. Xiaoping raised his eyebrows. Even though his dark north protective art was very strong, the power of 4 great Emperor realm experts was beyond the range of his protective art. However, he did not just take a beating. In an instant, he activated his bloodline, and immediately activated the Golden Crow of Hell physique. Boom! His body immediately underwent an earth-shattering change. A pair of Golden Crow of Hell wings appeared behind his back, and his whole body was condensed from flames, burning the void. His right eye immediately turned into a sun, blazing with flames and spinning continuously. A swastika symbol appeared in the depths of his pupil, which contained an unfathomable mysterious power. His heart also turned into lava, beating continuously, powerful and forceful. His blood turned into lava, and the surrounding temperature also underwent an earth-shattering change, rising rapidly. Chapter 1301. What? Many Dragonians discovered that Xiaoping's body had undergone an earth-shattering transformation, and they could feel an aura several times more terrifying than before coming from him. Oh my god! Did this freak not use his full strength just now? Many Dragonians wailed. They had thought that Xiaoping had used his full strength just now. But now, it seemed that the strength he had displayed was only the tip of the iceberg. This damned human strength was unfathomable, and they couldn't see where his bottom line was. The 4 Dragon Grand Emperors felt even more deeply. They discovered that Xiaoping's new form wasn't as simple as just an increase in his aura. His body was filled with an ancient, chaotic, noble, and other aura. This bloodline gave them a feeling that it surpassed the dragon god of the ancient era, and was a being from another dimension. Although this aura was only in its embryonic form, its potential was boundless, and it wasn't something the Dragonians could compare to. In the blink of an eye, the dragon flame spear struck, tearing through the air with terrifying penetrative power. Dong! Xiaoping didn't move. He reached out with his hand, and instantly caught the spear formed from the dragon flame. Haha, you actually dared to catch the dragon flame spear? Are you courting death? Burn him to death. The dragon flame will burn this monster to death. The Dragon Grand Emperor laughed heartily, as if his plan had succeeded. But in the next second, he was so shocked that his eyeballs almost popped out of their sockets. This was because Xiaoping had directly grabbed the dragon flame spear, placed it in his mouth, and started munching on it, as if he was eating an ice cream cone. After he finished eating, he also let out a burp. Damn, this was the dragon flame, an extraordinary flame of heaven and earth. It was an inextinguishable flame that could incinerate everything, and now he was eating it raw. How could he be so unreasonable? The Dragon Grand Emperor's eyes turned green, and his heart was going crazy. He couldn't understand why this was happening. Die! The 3rd Dragon Grand Emperor's face was twisted. He activated all the magic power in his body, and a large amount of mud and rocks rolled down from the void, drowning everything. Like meteorites, rocks smashed down, destroying everything. This move had the power to destroy the world. Not long ago, he had used this move to drown an entire human city, killing millions and millions of people, and turning an area of 1,000 miles into a dead zone that couldn't be restored even after 1,000 years. Sun God Fist. Xiaoping didn't even look and punched the air. This punch contained the power of the mystical flame in his body. It was truly like the blazing sun in the sky, illuminating the world. It was filled with intense pure yang qi, and any cold yin qi was burned to ashes. Even though they were 100 miles away, and there was still the defensive formation of Dragon God City, the Dragonoid kings could still feel the boundless heat. It was as though their bodies were about to melt under such flames. Even the walls of Dragon God City were showing signs of melting into lava. It was as if they were about to collapse at any moment. Boom! This punch pierced through the ages and shattered the void. A large amount of mud and rocks instantly exploded and turned into powder. Pooh! The Dragon Great Emperor could feel the fist energy seeping into his body. The tyrannical flame energy spread to his 5 viscera and 6 bowels, burning him up in an instant. He couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. Just like that, his entire body was sent flying, smashing through more than a dozen mountains. Mountain rocks shattered, and he flew for dozens of kilometers before stopping. Too strong. All the Dragonoid kings knew what they should say. Although they didn't know how strong an Emperor Realm expert was, there was no doubt that this human Xiaoping's strength was a little too much. The 4 dragon great emperors couldn't suppress him even after joining hands, and were instead countered by him. Previously, Grand Emperor Grand wasn't a match for this human. Grand wasn't a weak great emperor, but this human was too strong, making Grand Emperor Grand look weak. Kill! The 4 dragon great emperors looked at each other. They were completely serious now. They knew that this human Xiaoping's strength was not to be underestimated. Although he was only at the king realm, his strength was even more terrifying than an ordinary emperor realm expert. In a one-on-one fight, they weren't his match at all. If they didn't join hands now, they would definitely be defeated one by one and die without a burial. Whoosh! 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 4 figures attacked in an instant. They naturally split into 4 directions and surrounded Xiaoping. At the same time, they erupted with wind, earth, lightning, and fire elemental energy. These 4 energies fused together, forming a huge formation that crushed down. Come at me! Xiaoping was still fearless. He controlled the infernal golden crow's wings and continuously teleported through the void. He split into 4 figures and fought with the 4 dragon great emperors, punching and kicking. With each punch and kick, the terrifying deviant flame in his body erupted, burning the void. Bang! Bang! Suddenly, countless explosions rang out in the air, as if a nuclear bomb had gone off. The surrounding heaven and earth yuan qi was shattered, and the air was pushed away, forming a vacuum. Terrifying energy exploded, spreading out in all directions. The air vibrated hundreds of thousands of times, producing an extremely powerful destructive force. As Xiaoping fought with the 4 dragon great emperors, he continuously teleported through the air. The ground within 1,000 li trembled, and huge craters were blasted out, sending soil flying everywhere. The mountains in the distance collapsed, and countless birds and beasts fled in fright. Xiaoping punched out, and the flames landed on the ground, immediately setting a mountain on fire. The fire raged, turning it into a sea of fire. Even the rocks were melted into magma, and the flames didn't extinguish even after 100 years. The strength of the 4 dragon great emperors was also very terrifying. A wind blade swept over, and 1,000 zhang tall mountain was flattened. Large amounts of rocks collapsed with a rumble. Bolts of lightning descended from the sky, immediately blasting out huge craters that were tens of kilometers wide. Water gushed out from the depths of the earth, forming a lake. The remaining forces also affected Dragon God City. Initially, Dragon God City's restrictive array formation defenses were extremely terrifying and could withstand the attacks of an emperor-level powerhouse. But now they were on the verge of collapsing. Dense cracks had appeared on the originally transparent energy barrier like spiderwebs. This force even seeped into the interior of Dragon God City, causing the ground to crack, as if the entire city was about to be split into a dozen pieces. Many of the Dragonians were shocked. This was the might of a great emperor. If not for the formation of Dragon God City, they would have long been turned into ashes by the shockwaves. But even so, if the battle continued like this, the entire Dragon God City would be reduced to nothingness. Quick retreat. Dragon God City is no longer safe. Retreat immediately. Elites of the race, we cannot die in a battle between great emperors. Stay 1,000 li away from Dragon God City. Leave quickly. The Dragonian elders ordered. They were so frightened by such an intense battle that their faces had turned green. Even Dragon God City, which was known as the safest fortress of the dragon human race, did not give them any sense of security. Chapter 1302. What a powerful force. What a terrifying flame. After exchanging hundreds of punches, the 4 dragon grand emperors were astonished. They could feel boundless power from Xiaoping's body, as if it was endless. He was only at the king realm and couldn't borrow the power of heaven and earth, But his own strength was enough to fight against their emperor-level strength, even numbing their hands and feet. If they were also at the king realm, a single punch from him would be enough to destroy their bodies. What shocked them even more was the power of the flame on his body. It was no weaker than the dragon fire. If they hadn't dodged fast enough, they would have been burned to ashes. Even so, they felt their scalps go numb. They were afraid that if they were careless and got hit by the flame, they would really die in one punch. The 4 Dragon Grand Emperors also felt the helplessness that Grand Emperor Glenn had felt. This human was a monster, and there seemed to be a true dragon living in his body. Continue. Compared to these Dragon Grand Emperors, Xiaoping was extremely excited. His blood was boiling. Fighting with them, he could feel the true meaning of power. Especially in a life-and-death battle, the formation of heaven and earth became more and more obvious in his divine sense. With his divine sense, he could feel the formation inside the 4 Dragon Grand Emperors' bodies. It seemed to communicate with the power of wind, fire, lightning, and earth. Such a formation was not imagined but innate. Many veins appeared in the void, and these naturally formed veins combined to form a formation of heaven and earth. Mastering such a formation was equivalent to mastering the power of heaven and earth. Truly mysterious, too wonderful for words. Xiaoping's heart became more and more calm. He felt neither joy nor sorrow, as if his divine sense had fused with the void, comprehending the power of heaven and earth. Under the intense battle, the originally incomprehensible power of heaven and earth was now incomparably clear. It was like a peerless beauty taking off her clothes and letting everyone look at her. Xiaoping felt that there were no mysteries in heaven and earth. His aura fused with the void, and his movements were as smooth as flowing water. He had already stepped into the realm of being one with heaven. His moves were also natural, and his power was constantly rising. The more he comprehended, the more confident he was in stepping into the treasure refinement realm. It could be said that this was many times better than taking large amounts of medicinal pills. Bang bang bang. Xiaoping and the 4 Dragon Grand Emperors fought intensely. 5 figures appeared in the air, clashing madly with each other. Deafening explosions rang out like meteors crashing into each other. Damn it! This human's strength is constantly increasing. Damn it, he's using us as whetstones. He's merely at the king realm, yet he's already so terrifying. How terrifying would he be if he's really allowed to step into the emperor realm? The 4 Dragon Great Sovereigns felt incomparably sullen, their hearts filled with anger. As Grand Great Sovereigns, they were the supreme experts of this world, invincible. Yet now they were being played like fools, used as whetstones. What kind of humiliation was that? If they could, they wished they could slap this arrogant human to death. Who did he think their Dragon Grand Emperor was? A sparring partner for this bastard, a stepping stone. However, this human was just too powerful. Even if they were unwilling, they could only accompany Xiaoping in his cultivation and act as sparring partners. This was not something they could change. The more they fought, the more anxious they became. If Xiaoping really broke through to the emperor realm because of this battle, then no one would be able to stop him. At that time, the dragon human race would be dead. At this instant, Xiaoping was about to punch out and send the 4 Dragon Great Sovereigns flying when he suddenly felt a great danger approaching. His hair stood on end, as if he had fallen into a fatal trap. Boom! All of a sudden, a black shadow appeared in the depths of the void. This shadow was so black that even light that came into contact with it would distort and even devour it. His attack was earth-shattering. He aimed at Xiaoping's flaws and launched a thunderous attack. A fist smashed out, containing terrifying darkness power that seemed to be able to devour everything. It had a terrifying power that could pierce through the ground and directly landed on Xiaoping's body. Dong! The power of this fist was extremely terrifying. It was a peak attack of the Emperor realm. Even Xiaoping's Dark North protective art couldn't withstand it, and was instantly pierced through. The power of this fist even penetrated Xiaoping's abdomen. The fist passed through just like that. Whoosh! Immediately, this black shadow stood in the void and revealed his original appearance. This was an old man dressed in a black dragon robe. He was 3 meters tall, had a hooked nose, blue hair and blue eyes. He exuded a terrifying royal aura, as if he had been in a high position for a long time, and controlled the lives of millions. Emperor Caesar. Many dragon human elders cried out in surprise. They could all tell that the person who attacked was the oldest and most powerful emperor of the dragon human race, Emperor Caesar. There were many legends about Emperor Caesar. He was known as the strongest emperor realm expert in the history of the dragon human race. He was overflowing with talent, and was the pillar of the dragon human race, the true ruler. Usually, Emperor Caesar would cultivate in seclusion in the forbidden land of the dragon god, and study the things left behind by the dragon god. He would not come out until the dragon human race was exterminated. But to think that the great Emperor Caesar would appear right now. Not only that, the moment he appeared, he gave that human Xiaoping a fatal blow, piercing through his abdomen. Lord Caesar has attacked, and it's a sneak attack? The 4 dragon human emperors were also extremely surprised. They didn't expect that Emperor Caesar, who was cultivating in seclusion in the depths of Dragon God City, would also attack. Moreover, he had concealed himself in the void with his dark magic, and had been patiently waiting for an opportunity to deliver a fatal blow. Obviously, Emperor Caesar's attack was extremely successful, and caught this human off guard. However, they were also shocked that the self-proclaimed invincible Emperor Caesar would be so shameless as to attack this human expert. One could imagine the pressure this human brought to the dragon human emperor. Obviously, Emperor Caesar also thought that this human was extremely dangerous and tyrannical. If it wasn't a sneak attack, it would be very difficult to find an opportunity to kill this human. Although a sneak attack was very despicable, this was a life-and-death crisis for the dragon human race. This was a battle to exterminate the race, so no matter what, it should be done. In this world, the winner takes all. If he had to blame someone, he could only blame this human for being too naive and coming to Dragon God City alone. If he didn't die, then who would? Xiaoping of the human race? You are indeed a very dangerous human. Even I, Caesar, had to hide for a very long time before I found your flaw and attacked. Emperor Caesar stood with his hands clasped behind his back, an arrogant look on his face. But no matter how powerful you are, you've lost half your life after taking a blow from me. You should just die obediently. Everything about you will be obliterated in the long river of history, and you will become a stepping stone for the dragon human race to dominate, another pathetic challenger. He looked at Xiaoping, as if he was looking at a dead man. It's indeed a good punch, but it's not enough to take my life. Xiaoping looked indifferently at Emperor Caesar. What? Emperor Caesar and the other dragon human emperors were shocked because they saw that there was no blood dripping from Xiaoping's abdomen that had been pierced through. Only magma-like liquid could be seen, and flames were burning everywhere. Chapter 1303. Impossible. Many Dragonians were shocked. They couldn't believe their eyes. What kind of being could recover in a few breaths' time after being punched through the abdomen? This was simply unimaginable. But how could they know that Xiaoping was no ordinary human? He had condensed the Golden Crow physique. The legendary Golden Crow of Hell didn't have a real body, but was condensed from flames. It existed between reality and illusion, existing in the void. It was a ruler born from the depths of the flames, a true sentient life form. Even if its wings were chopped off, its body pierced, its head chopped off, and its claws chopped off, as long as the flames didn't extinguish, it would rapidly recover. This was the undying body of the Golden Crow of Hell. Although his Golden Crow physique hadn't reached the grand completion realm yet, it had already completed the initial phase of elemental transformation. He could turn his entire body into flames. In this way, even if his arms were chopped off or his abdomen pierced, as long as his magic power wasn't exhausted, he would recover in a few breaths' time. And because of the Golden Crow of Hell's heart, his body's recovery speed was tens of times, maybe even hundreds of times faster than ordinary people. Kaiser was dumbfounded. In order to deal a fatal blow to Xiaoping, he had endured for a long time and punched through Xiaoping's abdomen, thinking that it would end his life. But who would have thought that in a few breaths' time, the other party would recover without a scratch? This scene was too exaggerated. Could it be that he had an undying body? Since you've all appeared, then you can all die. Xiaoping's eyes flashed with a terrifying light that seemed capable of piercing through the void. The wings on his back flapped, and with extreme speed, he punched towards the nearby Dragonians. Martial Path Divine Ability Sun God Fist. This fist was like the arrival of the sun, blazing with flames and exuding boundless yang qi. Under such a scorching sun, any power would be completely vaporized. Not good. The Dragonians who used the power of lightning paled. This fist was aimed at him, and he could feel the threat of death. But he couldn't react in time. What happened earlier was too shocking, and his mind was still in a state of confusion, trying to figure out why this had happened. But no matter what, he was still an emperor-level expert. In a hurry, he immediately circulated the magic power in his body, quickly covering his body with a layer of lightning energy armor. Lightning crackled around him, and there were lightning runes swimming around. Dong! The punch landed squarely on the Dragon Grand Emperor's body. It's over. The Dragon Great Sovereign's face was ashen. He thought that his move would be able to block Xiaoping's attack, but Xiaoping's fist art simply surpassed his imagination. Only when this fist was about to hit him, did he realize how terrifying this fist was. It contained boundless heat, as if the other party was holding a sun in his hand and smashing it over. Not only did it contain the power to shatter stars, but more importantly, the terrifying heat directly seeped into his lungs, instantly roasting his internal organs. Boom! In the next second, his body was blasted into pieces, and even turned to ashes under the flames. A mighty Dragon Grand Emperor was beaten to death just like that. Emperor Caer. Everyone, including the great Emperor Caesar, was dumbfounded when they saw the Dragon Man Emperor being killed. If it was before, killing Grand Emperor Grant wouldn't be a big deal. After all, he was just one person. But now, 5 great sovereigns had come together and killed a great sovereign right under their noses. This was no longer as simple as slapping their faces. It was simply a humiliation to them to death, trampling them until there wasn't a single piece of skin left unscathed. Many Dragon Man elders died in grief and indignation. Another Dragon Grand Emperor had died. Today was simply the anniversary of the Dragon Man race's death. The losses they suffered were more terrible than any war in the past. I'll kill you. A Dragon Grand Emperor, who controlled the power of wind, roared towards the sky. He and Emperor Caer were like brothers, and seeing Caer explode with a single punch and disappear from the world, one could imagine how furious he was right now. His body contained the power of a storm. With his body as the center, countless air currents seemed to revolve, forming a storm. Violent air currents burst out, wanting to attack Xiaoping. Kill me? Are you qualified? Xiaoping didn't even look at him, and immediately took out the Hell Spear. Martial Arts Mystique, Head-Piercing 7 Arrows Art. Using the Hell Spear as a hidden weapon, he imbued tyrannical magic power into it. Like a spear thrown by an ancient deity, he instantly threw the spear out. A tyrannical divine sense locked onto the Dragon Grand Emperor, seemingly leaving Xiaoping's spiritual mark on his body. With this spiritual mark, no matter how he tried to escape or dodge, he couldn't escape death. Swish! The Hell Spear flew out like a missile, surpassing 100 times the speed of sound and hiding in the void. A mysterious power wrapped around the Hell Spear. No matter how fast it was, nothing happened to the surrounding air. It was as if the surrounding air waves were easily smoothed out. With a tearing sound, the Hell Spear instantly pierced through the power of the storm and continuously revolved, tearing through the air barrier and directly penetrating into the Dragon Grand Emperor's body. Dong! Immediately, his body was easily pierced through like a piece of paper. Blood gushed out just like that, and he was nailed in midair like a sinner. This. Originally, the Dragon Grand Emperor was still roaring and wanting to deal a fatal blow to Xiaoping, but in the next second, the Hell Spear pierced through his chest. His eyes were wide open, and astonishment and shock could be seen in the depths of his pupils. He couldn't believe that he was so easily killed by a human and had his heart destroyed. An intense pain spread throughout his body, and unprecedented darkness quickly shrouded his thoughts. Bang! Soon his body lost all strength, and his soul fell into the endless darkness. Just like that, he fell from midair and smashed into the ground. He fell to the ground, and his legs twitched a few times, as if unwilling to die just like that. But after a few seconds his body could no longer move. His neck tilted, and he lost all signs of life. Even if the dragon god was here, he probably wouldn't be able to revive him. Another great emperor died. You must be joking. Nightmare, this is definitely a nightmare. The Dragon Man elders were numb, and they didn't know what to say anymore. Just a moment ago, they were filled with anger and hatred over the death of a great emperor, and now another one had died. Great emperors died like weeds, without any value. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.